Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Monday, the 10th of April, 2023. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today is Zachary Burgess.
He's homunculus.
And Robert Kemp.
This house does have a diminutive humanoid in it now, so...
Yeah, I guess.
Homunculus, that's a relatively normal word for us.
Is it?
Well, relatively. I'm saying relatively. I actually know that word.
Sure, but I wouldn't have said it's a particularly common word.
No, that's true.
Yeah. You have to be sort of in the realms of sci-fi and fantasy geekery, I suppose, to be aware.
Yeah.
I don't know, is it general... Is there like a general science... Is it a homunculi, like, in general science? Like,
Homunculi? No, it's not a scientific thing, is it? It's a mythical thing.
Well, I mean,
it could be both.
You could use the term in a different context and it would still technically be correct in a more scientific context.
I just sort of wondered if there was some, like, bacterial homunculi or something.
Well, it has to be humanoid, though, right?
Yeah, I suppose that is part of the word, isn't it?
It's like a mini person, isn't it? Like a homunculus?
A diminutive or, like, semi-formed or something like that. Like, not quite human.
Just like this podcast.
Not quite human. Subpar humanity.
Subpar. Oh man, I missed the Masters. What am I doing? Too busy.
Subpar humanity.
Anyone watch it? I know, subpar.
You mean you didn't get your Dave Brew back on standby to play every time a ball was in the air?
No, that's necessary. You've got to play some jazz while the ball's in the air.
You didn't get to yell mashed potatoes or anything.
What? Mashed potatoes?
It's that classic Tiger Woods meme where, like, he hits a ball and someone in the crowd just yells really loud mashed potatoes. Because I guess, like, you could say that's like, you know, you mashed that ball.
Yeah, I guess.
But I don't think that was necessarily why that happened. I think it was probably just for the memes.
Like, anything's better than saying get in the hole. Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Get in the hole.
That got old after, like, 1 year. And then it continued for every year afterwards.
Balls in holes.
I still find it funny.
It's just annoying. Mashed potato. I could get behind that.
I mean,
there's so much drama this year that literally people were almost crushed by falling trees, I think.
Yeah.
What? How'd that happen?
Well, a tree fell over.
I don't know. Multiple trees fell over.
Yeah, but what caused the trees to fall over? There's more to that story than it just going...
Well, not necessarily. Sometimes trees just fall over.
There's usually wind involved, or...
There was a lot of wind.
Or overground
trees.
Or underground keeping. Controversy.
I don't think the Masters can be accused of undergrounds keeping.
Well, maybe they didn't care about their trees. It's all about the grass.
Come on, Augusta.
I mean, it could easily have just rotted on the inside and you wouldn't even be able to tell.
Dead tree.
But yeah, come on. If anyone could afford freaking tree X-ray machines, it's Augusta National.
Yeah, wouldn't they have, like, proper tree surgeons? Like,
well, yeah, but that's still technically only the outside.
Yeah,
like, you wouldn't, if you didn't have a reason to suspect that there was anything wrong on the inside, you wouldn't just necessarily go looking, would you?
No, I guess not.
You wouldn't just start drilling holes in trees just in case, because that would weaken them.
I guess you might.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that weakened them itself. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Once they've got the hole, though, with the hole wouldn't really cover itself over, right? They could just, like, put a stick in it.
Reuse the hole.
A different stick. Yeah. Like, tap the sap or something.
Well, you probably don't want to tap the sap if you want the tree to stay alive.
Not from a pine. Yeah.
Tap that sap.
Did either of you watch any of it? I usually used to like watching
Rob doesn't like golf.
That was like the one sporting event that... Yeah, but you watching the rugby and shit. Like,
that's different from golf in several ways.
Formula One.
Yeah, but those are kind of like...
Those are kind of like real sports.
No, I mean, there is a key difference, right? Because they're sort of like a watch it and it's like it's a fixed period of time. You watch it and you're done. Well, I mean, right? Golf is kind of like
yeah, but you can watch the highlights of golf
all day.
I suppose. Yeah, you could. It's like 5-day cricket, right? It's like it's like it only ever used to be a background thing when I was living with my parents, right? And Dad would have it on. I don't think anyone was properly watching it. It was just sort of.
But I think that's kind of the point of 5-day cricket. Like you're not really you're just meant to hang out, and except now you can do it via the TV rather than having to be there in person.
Like even 1-day cricket, that's still a day. That's a commitment.
Well, I think spending a day watching a whole sports event is valid as a thing to do. Well, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not using valid in terms of like saying you're a terrible person if you do it or whatever. but like.
No, I'm not berating anyone for spending their time doing that. No, like not at all. No. But for me, that's a bit much. And like I don't know, the golf is kind of. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate golf, but it's like it's one of those things where I find it is difficult to watch. Like even with like all of the cameras and all the stuff going on, like it's a little.
It's true.
There's a lot going on at once, so like there's a little bit like. Well, what am I watching right now?
It's a lot of tiny bits going on at once because it doesn't follow one person, or rarely. Sometimes it does.
I mean, it would. I suppose as it gets towards the end,
especially focuses on who the people who are important.
Yeah,
but like it's a lot of tiny bits of information from a whole different bunch of people happening all the time, so you can't even really not pay attention in some ways.
Sure,
you either have to super pay attention to get everything, or like pay the minimum amount of attention and only care like when the scoreboard comes up. And apart from that, you're just looking for cool shots happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely or terrible shots happening. You want to see those as well. Either. Or clubs breaking or.
Don't think that happens very often any longer.
No. Shame. Or, golf balls catching on fire. That would be good.
Tiger shark.
Dung beetles coming out of the ground and pushing all the balls around. Not that they leave. Well, I suppose they do leave the balls out on the fairway, right? But like, not on the green. Not where the important bit where you want the drama to really happen.
Where the dung beetle would be more important.
Yeah, absolutely. An errant hedgehog just walks across the green as an obstacle. Or avoid that hedgehog, otherwise you're going to get banned for cruelty. It's a dangerous hole. One of these holes isn't the real hole. Pick a flag. This green isn't green because it's grass. It's green because it's radiation. Danger Golf. Link's Extreme was onto something.
Oh, yes, obviously.
This is a podcast about video games.
Yeah.
Get my video game reference in early. For us.
I mean, we're waiting for it's been like years and years since the golf games dried up from EA Sports, but I think they're making one, aren't they?
They are making one, yeah. There's one this year, I believe. And I think they're trying to revive it. Wasn't there one last year as well, actually? Aren't they trying to bring back, just PGA Tour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not got Tiger Shots
it's just come out.
And it's not got DMX in the intro sequence, so, they instantly...
Well, you don't know that. Not yet. It could still go that way.
Every year, I just need to lose my mind up in here. Then they're good golf games. Well, I need people that look like they've been extracted from the mafia doing breakdancing on the green. That's what a golf game needs, right?
Yeah.
Even EA thought so.
That'll be the test when we play this new game. I think it looks like it's just come out. So,
right,
just coming out now. Yeah.
The water looked very nice.
Yes, it looks very nice.
Very nice. Because, didn't everyone, move to the golf club? Was that, the indie-esque one that actually apparently was good if you really wanted to play golf games?
But no one's making triple B golf. You have the triple A golf of the PGA Tour, but no one's making the triple B golf where it's the funky, weird golf games that are still enough. Old golf games used to be. They're like golf, but not super hardcore.
But they're not. They're not updating that Mario Golf at the moment. They did a few updates, right, and then left it alone.
Well, sure. I mean, I think they ran their course with Mario Golf.
They ran their course.
Yep.
Ah.
Oh my god! It says this has innovative ball behavior.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
But how do you innovate ball behavior, though?
I mean, you need some other weird way of enacting spin on it, right?
Yeah.
So you like spin it in the air, like Tiger Woods does.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah.
Except like that's not what you actually mean, though, because like spinning it in the air. If you were like really doing that, if you could like make it spin in the air, you could make it like curve mid-flight rather than just the spin taking effect when it hits the ground.
No, wait, wind control. You control the wind and thus adjust the ball behavior with the wind.
That's not innovative ball physics.
Maybe like it would have to dynamically adjust the ball in the air. Not the wind is this right now.
They should have it so that like. I don't know I don't know what the like science they'd have to do for it, but like you should be allowed to have like different types of ball per shot. It's like this is my driving ball,
driving ball,
and this is the putting ball. But then like they have slightly different physics.
I mean, how do we know they're not already doing that?
You think that when they like put it in their pocket, they're putting out a different ball that's slightly different.
Yeah, when they mark the place on the green, right?
I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do that. Pretty sure you have to use the same ball at all times.
I would wager that someone has done that and gotten away with it.
But I'm not sure how that would help. Especially,
I don't know.
Especially if we're talking about this theoretical version of this situation where it still has to look like the other ball. How much can you change? It would have to be internal.
Or is anyone really going to pay close enough attention to see slight variations in the dimples? Maybe one that offers grass grip. I don't know.
I bet someone probably would notice that.
It would really subtle though, or slightly different material to the ball. Somehow, I don't know how they could do it. Weight might be the obvious one.
Well, yeah, weight would be the obvious one, but I feel like that would be still too noticeable. Like if you putted it and then it looked like it was moving slower because the ball was heavier, that would be kind of noticeable.
Maybe. Or what if it was like a bowls bowl and like weighted on one side,
so you could curl it? I think that would be very noticeable.
But only a little bit of weight on one side. So everyone could be like, that green's got a weird bend to it.
No, what you want is to have like a tiny, like inside, built into the inside of this special putting ball. You have a tiny little, like, Wi-Fi controlled gyroscope. But like, then it's really subtle. So it's like, if you putt towards the hole and you're going to miss by like an inch, it just slightly guides it in.
Sneaky.
I mean, the stealth cheating ball.
Or it knows which way it's rolling, and there are tiny perforations in the surface of the ball, so it lubricates the grass in front of it.
I'm not sure that one's going to work.
so it doesn't slow down.
I don't think that's how lubrication would work on a golf ball. I think putting anything onto the grass in front of the golf ball would actually just slow it down, even if it was like oil. Do
you think it'd be like because the physics of injecting the lubricant in front of the ball might actually cause enough reverse force?
I think that surface tension of a liquid is going to slow the ball down regardless of what liquid it is.
Fair enough. No golf lube. Could there be like actuators under the greens that you can like...
Okay, well now we're talking about editing the greens and not the ball.
Yeah. Some kind of pneumatic to move the green a little bit. Space golf.
I mean, you'd think like if you wanted to be super hardcore about it, the way that they move the flags on the greens over the days, where it's like now the flags in a harder position, you could go like full on like baseball or football and just have like the whole green is just a thing that you can lift out and replace with a different one.
Oh wow, right, yeah. So like, there's a bunker here now. We've just filled the hole with sand.
Well, I meant a different shaped green, not a different obstacle.
They could do that. If you're going that far, go all in. There's a water trap here now. Pay attention. Concentrate. That's golf.
Apparently.
Golf news. Who's hot in golf right now? I don't know any names in modern golf.
I don't know. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah,
still.
Is he still about?
Did he? He didn't make the cut, though.
He didn't make the cut?
No.
His time has passed.
Eventually.
Tiger Woods made the cut, and Freddie Couples made the cut, apparently.
Oh.
Anyway, I know quite a lot, considering I didn't watch it. Anyway.
Some of the old guard returning.
Yeah.
The Tigonaissance.
I don't actually know who won. Who did win?
Spoilers. Spoilers for podcast listeners.
We'll leave it off then.
If they're super hype into their golf. It's like, it's that old argument, isn't it? It's like, if you're really into the sport, you would already know by now. But then there's me going, well, I haven't watched the Grand Prix from 2 weeks ago, so shut up.
Right, yeah. So, don't tell me who won.
Yes, Amazon motherfuckers.
Well, the winner is described here as a burly Basque. So there you go. you can tell who it is from that. Then there's your spoiler.
Is that a fish?
A burly Basque. 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 A burly Basque.
That's definitely a fish.
What is a fish anyway?
I wish I knew. What else is going on? Is everyone all right? There's probably baby screams coming in the background of this recording right now.
Yeah. How's Baby Town?
He's a grizzly little bastard.
Grizzly?
Yeah. I don't know. He's not been happy the last couple of days. Just he has like placid periods in the morning, and then he's a bit rough. He likes a car journey though. He's quiet during a car journey.
Yeah. It's the motion, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's quite funny because he's starting to, I don't know, slightly control his vocals at times, which is kind of interesting. So he'll sort of go "ho" rather than just being like wails and and blah all the time. It's like there's every now and then you get a "ho," and it's like that's super cool.
Nice.
But yeah, he's grizzly. He's bigger as well. He's definitely growing. Definitely growing quick. Chubby in the cheeks.
Good.
How?
Today, what's the sort of if you graph it, like there's definitely spurts, right? It doesn't happen
supposedly,
evenly,
yeah. Like so, at 6 weeks, which is like around the time of the last podcast, that's supposedly a milestone, and he's onto one, and that usually makes them quite grizzly. And yeah, 6 weeks was not a fun time. So I'm wondering if he's on another little grow at the moment, because it's a couple weeks later and he's starting to get back to that same state of Grizz. Mr. Grizz from Splatoon has called him up to congratulate him on a job role done.
Fully grizzly.
Fully grizzed, yeah.
Like a proper bear.
He's a bearish market.
Definitely.
Oh, he'll be a bullish market.
He's bullish. Yeah, it's bullish market.
Yeah, so that's fun. I got a little bit of kitchen bitching for you.
Kitchen bitching
this week.
Related?
No, not at all. But
just independent kitchen bitching.
Yeah, independent. Just home life in general. Right. So like I don't know. We're both getting a bit rubbish sometimes at keeping up with the cleaning in the kitchen and stuff like that. So there was a pile of pans, as you do. It's my favorite Pokemon pile of pan, and they. I got around to actually washing them up. I'm working my way through the pans, and halfway through the pile, I discovered, like after so what I had done is I'd lifted all of the pans and just put them all in the sink at the same time. It's just sort of making a nice little water feature out of pans. So, you'd be washing the top one, and the ones below would be getting a little bit of a soak, and the residual fairy liquid, I guess. And then thinking in my head that might help a little bit. So I get halfway through the pile, and there's just an empty packet for bacon just in the middle of this pile. And I'm like,
what?
And I'm like, why is this here? So it's
okay.
And then now it's all soggy and damp, and everything actually smells like bacon again. Weirdly. So clearly Noman just put the pan over to the side that we've been cooking bacon in, and then put the packet in which the bacon had been cooked with the pan for some reason over there. which is like less like inches away from where the actual bin for putting the packet in was, and a bit of me was just like, why would you do that? Anyway, that was my kitchen vision. Just don't leave your bacon packets in the middle of a pile of pans. It's annoying. bigger concerns exist.
Very specific. Yeah, it's true. Zach, you got any kitchen vision for us?
I mean, you haven't committed to fixing my toaster.
Well, we kind of forgot to do that last time.
Person to fix the toaster, you know.
No, I don't think anything's been happening in our kitchen. It's all been normal.
You'll be pleased to know that there was a massive water main burst again.
Oh, good.
Like every time Zach comes to my house, there's been like a leak en route somewhere.
Yep.
And last week was it last week or the week before, you took great pleasure in saying there were no leaks this week.
They finally fixed all of them.
Yeah. So midweek, I didn't even notice what was going on, but I got a couple of texts from Anglian Water saying, sorry about the disruption to your water. And I'm like, right. What disruption? And then I went out of the house one time and like just down the street from us, there was just like, oh, there's like gushing fountain of crap going on down there.
Right. I saw that when I was walking down. I was like, this pavement looks different, but I couldn't remember whether it was from the previous leak. No. But then they've sprayed on like the edge of the road. There's just a box that says void, which implies that they're probably going to come back.
Okay. Or does it mean like there's just some demonic presence under there? They don't want anyone to go near.
There's a giant fucking hole under the tarmac is what they mean.
Yeah. I was thinking much more spatial than that. Like there's just a blackness. Don't drop anything in. It's like those holes in the world, like in Fez. Don't drop anything in. Is that how they solved the leak? Do you reckon they just fed the water into this void in space and time?
When I was looking at when I walked over it, it's like the bit where it says void or whatever is on the road, and then they've redone the pavement. Like that must have been where it was actually coming out. So I'm guessing it came out on the pavement, but then like eroded under that bit of the road. But then for some reason they didn't fix that when they were fixing the water leak part. Unless that marking is like old, like they did fix it and it just hasn't washed off yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. It's just funny because it's the same place, like it's happened like not that long
right
ago.
Next to the other bit of new tarmac right there.
Whatever's wrong with a bit of pipery down there is not going well. Fortunately, we didn't suffer at all. Like for once, it's like we didn't have our water cut off or anything like that, even though it's just down the street. It's like we were fine. So it's not really. I mean, it could have affected my kitchen, but it didn't. It did not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I've got any much more anecdotal going on.
The random section.
The random, yeah. Just, saying ho at the baby a lot.
I had a trip to Cardiff, which was nice. Not been there before. Yeah, it was nice. Don't know what to report about Cardiff.
I think I've been into Cardiff like once on a typically super damp day.
Right.
And I don't remember anything else other than it just being like the greyest of greys, like oppressive greys.
It seems like quite a nice place, like similar to like it's a proper city, but like, you can walk across it. That's what I got from, and it's not too insanely crowded. That's what I got from like Bristol, and it's similarly.
Oh, sure, Cardiff.
Nice. They're not that far apart. Yeah, they're both nice places. Maybe Bristol's slightly nicer, but both very nice.
Yeah,
and a lot slower pace of life than the fucking London insanity.
Sure,
Jesus,
anything would be better. Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Tokyo, and it's like anything's better than London.
Right, yeah. Well, Tokyo is like spread out. Well, I guess there's tons of people there, but it's a bit more organised, isn't it?
It didn't feel quite so... in its own weird way, I didn't feel quite so like claustrophobed up. Like,
right, yeah. That's interesting, actually.
It's weird,
you definitely struggled with London, but like the fact that you were okay with Tokyo is interesting.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I don't fully understand it. Maybe I was just hyped for weird and just coped. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Get hype?
Get hype for weird.
I started watching that there. Don't judge. Picard season 3.
Oh no! But So I watched like Red Letter Media, and I have heard that the first 4 episodes of Picard season 3 are like good.
Yeah, we are.
That's what I heard.
Honestly, yeah, we're like 3 episodes in, and I think I said after the second episode, we're still in space, and it's like I was like,
yeah,
excellent. This is feeling way more Star Trekky than I was expecting.
I'll skip the entire. Well, we did watch the first fucking episode of the first season of Picard, I think, or maybe 2. I watched. And I was like, "This is shit." The first
season was vaguely acceptable. Like the second season is rubbish. The second season's like like that Star Trek film where for some reason they're stuck in New York or whatever it was. Like,
but that was good. The one in San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Yeah, I don't know. I've not actually seen it, but it was like that, but bad.
You should see that one with the whales. It's crazy that one. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, it really was kind of.
I mean, I heard it. This is just yet another like Wrath of Khan inspired, cat and mouse fight through in a nebula. Or
yeah, that's how the season starts.
They do that one again where the villain is out for revenge against.
Well, I don't know anything about the motives. That's not really. They hold. They hold that one back for a while.
But that's Khan's motive, isn't it? Yeah.
I assume. Yeah. Well, yeah, it was.
God. Yeah, but that's fine as long as it's good. And I heard that the TNG cast do a good job. I quite want to see Riker again. I think
he's cool.
A good job, Jonathan Frakes.
He's definitely cool. He was in season 1 as well.
And I heard that the captain is cool, whatever his name is, Shaw or whatever. He's a bit of a dick.
Oh yeah, he's a dick. But
yeah, that's good.
An enjoyable dick for a while. Yeah, he's one of those who sort of kind of knows it and leads into it. It's like, well, I'm like this, so whatever. That's cool. It's all right. We sort of enjoy it. Yeah, I'm enjoying it thus far. Watching it at a normal, slow pace, don't know when I do. It's just like, what do you want to watch tonight? Is it one of these billion shows we've got going? Can we please finish one of them? Like Borgen, for instance, we're like a few episodes into the Netflix version of that as well.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen any of the Netflix stuff.
Well, they've only got this one season,
right?
So far, season 4, or was it Power and Glory? I think they call it. And it's it's interesting because it's hard to like what anyone is doing in that show at the moment.
Right.
Like, all of the characters seem to be making poor decisions, and it's just like, this is hard. This is a little bit hard to watch as a result. It's not bad. I don't mean it in that way, but it's just like
it's just like you care about these characters from before, and now they're all going, "What are they doing?"
It's not even that. You kind of want someone to root for, but we're not getting that at the moment. Like
right.
You don't really support anyone.
Right. Yeah.
That's television. I think that's my TV minute.
Did I say I'd watched Barry and I recommend it, the first series? So I'm going to watch more.
Oh yeah, I think you. Yeah, I don't know if that was on the podcast, but you told.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, good old Bill Hader.
Barry.
Right, so video game news time, I guess. What's going on?
Not a lot.
Still.
Not
a lot. I suppose the biggest thing that kind of happened in the last couple of weeks was the Zelda drop, I suppose. The gameplay reveal, which it wasn't didn't show us a huge amount of the game, but
if you want to avoid spoilers, then you're going to have a problem, I guess, because it's not very easy to avoid.
I mean,
it's not plot spoilers, it's mechanical.
But that is the problem, isn't it? Breath of the Wild is a mechanical game.
Well, yeah.
And it's
true.
although I have heard, I did catch a slight amount of rumour that maybe the art book for Tears of the Kingdom has already leaked. So if you want to avoid actual spoilers, you might actually already have to be thinking about that.
Oh, what media blackout now?
Yeah.
How long have we got? Like, it's what, mid-May?
12,
okay. Not too far. Not too far, but still.
Yeah.
So, if you don't want to know about mechanics, shut off your ears now. Push that button on the side of them.
The mute button for your ears.
Yeah. There's a few things they've revealed. I tried to not watch it and not hear about it, but I got sucked in as well and ended up seeing things. So, weapon fusion.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Stick things on the ends of other things. I want to know how deep that rabbit hole goes. I assume it's only one item to one other item.
Well, that is what the UI looks like it implies.
But then it's like bits of that UI they showed is like, oh, you can attach a monster part to the end of this stick.
Well,
what does that do?
I'm assuming that yes, that will work.
Or does it create dubious weapon?
I mean, possibly
dubious weapon. I'm sure will exist.
But I suspect that's why all the monsters have new and bigger horns now.
Oh.
I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of spear action going on.
I guess. Yeah, well, or that the just handles are just made of those horns or something. Or
well, maybe. I get the real... No, yeah, I feel like that's probably not going to work because the way the system appears to work, you have to be holding a thing and then it fuses with a thing in the world.
Stabs it, yeah. Oh, right. So
you're going to have to hold a weapon, but then you can drop a monster part and then have that attached to the thing you're holding.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure.
I'm beginning to already think about is this going to be, because it also seems to repair the durability or maybe combine the durability.
Yeah, something like that.
Because they specifically showed this stick is about to break, but then they fuse this rock onto it, and now it's, if not fully repaired, it has a lot more durability.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking is it not going to be so much of a problem of inventory space as much as being keeping a stock of handles, basically? So use it until it nearly expires, then attach a thing to it, and then when that's about to expire, you swap out the top end but keep the handle.
I guess, yeah.
Is the Master Sword going to become the Master Handle? Because they've already shown that the blade is all fucked up. So you're just going to be attaching random other crap to the Master Sword.
Oh, I bet. I bet. That sounds entirely.
Do you think that will be fusible at all?
I haven't decided whether I think that's more or less likely. It's... Yeah, you're kind of disrespecting the Master Sword at that point. But I could see
put a melon on the end of the Master Sword.
I could definitely see it being specific fuses, temporary repairs for the Master Sword that use very specific blades or whatever, special Zonai blades or something.
Whatever the Zonai are.
Yep. I mean, they kind of already know about that, kind of, but now we're going to get into more in the story, I suppose. Apparently, because we're going to be fighting them all the time, the constructs. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking that is it going to be about keeping the handles? Is that going to be the solution to inventory space? In that you will always have something in your inventory slots. It's just that you can keep swapping the top part over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, I assume there's that, or is there going to be some combos where when they're fused, they don't stay? Or they form something else permanently?
Well, I don't know what, because when they show what I was saying about how the UI indicates that it's only two things and you may be able to swap, because it very briefly shows up when he's already fused. He fuses a log into a stick and it makes a log club, and the UI even calls it a log club specifically. So it seems fused weapons are actually named as well. It's not, they do have specific terms maybe, but so when he goes to fuse a rock onto his shield, the UI that still highlights the thing he's holding, which is where it says log club, but the icon for it highlights the log part. So it's implying that you could swap the log part out for the rock that he's currently targeting.
Yeah, I guess.
So you might be able to basically constantly maintain one weapon and never have it break if you just keep the swapping the end off when the durability gets low.
Well, it depends how important the end part are to the main weapon characteristics, right? If you're right about the handle thing, is the handle actually all that important?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Because like if you're
sticking a sword onto a rock on the end of a sword, are you still getting the swordy characteristics just with a bit of granite?
Or does it make it really weak, but because the sword is strong, it still has the sword durability?
Yeah, something weird like that. I mean, I guess it's trying to maybe like what are they, other than adding mechanics, it's like what are they trying to solve here? Is it like they just don't want players to end up in a situation where they have no weapons?
Well, what they want to solve is how much everyone was bitching about durability.
I think it was a pain in the ass, but it was kind of a critical part of the game to encourage experimentation, right?
Yes, which is why I think the concept of swapping the ends might be that. Because if you imagine that you want to every time your weapon is about to break, the solution to that problem is to just fuse something else on the end. So you'll just do that constantly. Yeah. It encourages the exploring the mechanic by you avoiding your weapon breaking from durability.
Yeah, you have to. But then you still have to worry about it mid-fight, right? It's like it's about to break, and it's like, I better switch to something else.
Or I mean, you could just like hit that power and just grab something almost instantly. By looks
you reckon?
It's not. It seems to just have a very quick animation of Link going. Ching.
Depends how easy or how convenient that is to do mid-fight.
I mean, it looks like any other power. Like you hit L and then you target things with the reticule, essentially. And then
presumably, in a fight where that's really like matters, like I don't know, a Lionel fight or something, there's probably not going to be a huge amount around to actually do that with, though.
Sure, I mean,
if you're fighting like a crowd of things, there might be like stuff falling off them.
Well, I mean, you could potentially still, depending on if this system has changed, you could still potentially pause, go into your inventory, put stuff into your hand, drop it on the ground, then fuse that, because you'll be in the pause menu for most of that.
Sure, that's a bit of an arse.
Although I do wonder, because now they use it for the arrows. There's a new menu up on the D-pad where it opens up the menu to fuse stuff onto arrows when you're drawing your bow. And I'm wondering if that button will let you fuse materials from your inventory to your weapon if you're not drawing the bow. Because the button is still there, it's still highlighted.
I reckon you just shove an arrow on the end of a stick.
I don't know, I get the feeling arrows might not be an item in that way.
Or do you reckon you could fuse stuff to arrows?
Or shoot an arrow into the ground and then fuse it, maybe. That might work.
Yeah. I want to know.
Can you fuse two arrows together?
Fuse everything. I want to be able to take an apple, cover it in dubious food, and then just chuck it at someone and then go, ugh.
Well, you can definitely put an apple on an arrow. Well, I say definitely. Probably.
I bet you can. It'll probably heal someone. It'll hurt them and then heal them.
I mean, it's distinctly possible you might be able to fuse food onto arrows. Like cooked food, not just meat, because obviously they showed that in the menu.
Yeah.
Whatever that does. Presumably it's not going to be like that gun in Gungeon where you shoot them with the meat gun and then a giant bear springs out of nowhere and kills them. Well, that would be funny.
That'd be a very Far Cry, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got to fight the bear.
Yeah.
It's like you can help yourself out by like having a bear attack the thing you're interested in, but then you got to deal with the bear.
But what else could a meat arrow possibly do?
There probably are going to be like subquests about luring things with like food weapons.
Yeah.
Although beating bokoblins round the face with a bit of meat on the end of a stick does sound pretty hilarious.
You better hope it has a sound effect.
Oh, yeah.
A good old wet slap.
Yeah. If I can attach like a massive bass to just go flap.
A Hyrule bass.
Yeah.
You should just be whacking people with fish. That's going to be
man.
slapping your way.
I don't know, the hoarder in me didn't use enough of my ingredients and stuff
that's
anyway.
what this whole system is meant to solve.
Yeah. I didn't really do much with monster parts in particular, right? You just don't end up doing a huge amount with. So it's
the only trouble with
I wasn't making many elixirs personally, mostly food.
I'm gonna make this.
A few.
I'm gonna make this baseball bat mildly less comfortable to hit you with by covering it in crickets.
Anyway, is there, right? Because like the you can get food with effects and it gives you health. So why would you have just elixirs?
Well, I mean, if you don't want to waste the health, if you want to constantly be using elixirs, also you can't use all the same ingredients. Like all the bugs and stuff have to go into elixirs.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't put bugs in food, right?
No.
Although you probably could. Protein!
Yeah, in theory. But the problem, it's a good idea to make you be able to use all these parts that you're otherwise hoarding, but it's not going to work if every time you draw an arrow, you then have to go into that menu wheel to attach something.
Oh, yeah, I bet there must be some bulk fuse for things like that.
Yeah, you would hope. Or just auto fuse the same thing that I did previously, so at least you can continuously fire one type of fused arrow until you change it, or you run out.
Yeah, there'll have to be some. It's quite tricky, I think, getting the UI right for this relatively complex systems now.
Sure.
Well, I'm just hoping that, because obviously we haven't seen any of this, I'm hoping the actual menuing stuff is better. It would be nice if we didn't have to necessarily go all the way into the menu to hold an item to drop it in the world. That materials menu wheel should be able to put things into your hand from that. If we're assuming that it's not just for arrows, you should be able to pop up that wheel, go to a thing, and then from there put it into your hand rather than opening the full pause menu. Although it still pauses the game, so functionally not really any different, but it's just a nicer shortcut.
Got a shortcut, yeah. Obviously, the tricky thing is with console games in general, though, it's something you could map to a key to do. You have to have some perhaps arcane combination of buttons to do, which is limited.
No, they're never going to do button combinations. This is Nintendo we're talking about.
Exactly.
Single button push only. Or maybe two occasionally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they do it better than, I don't know, some of the, wheels and stuff in Red Dead are... Well, that was pretty hard to use, to be honest. There were multiple wheels and stuff, trying to select stuff in Red Dead.
Anything even games like Doom and stuff, where if you're playing the console version and you're trying to use the weapon wheel to switch to something, and switching weapons is kind of critical to those games. And it's they never feel quite right. I mean, Atomic Heart has that same problem sometimes, where it's if you're using the wheel to get around and it's not fully pausing the world behind you whilst you're using it, it's just slowing it down. It's a little bit finicky, but they solve a problem, I suppose, of flow.
Sure.
But
that's one of the new abilities.
That's one of the new things, yeah. So I guess the one that it feels essential, but is probably just because of the way they're showing the world off, is that rise through the floor thing. That seems like the least important mechanic.
Well, again, that's
specific spots, isn't it?
Well, it's not specific spots.
Wasn't
it's wherever it's a ceiling.
I thought there was one shot where it looked like there was a glowy spot on the floor, and that was you went to that and then went up.
No, it is anywhere, but it is specific. Where there's a flat ceiling and a flat space to emerge on top.
I guess we don't know how flat it requires. You could come out on a pretty steep slope and still have it work, I suspect. The real question, the presumably the actual limit will be a height above you. You won't just be able to go from the surface of the world to the sky just because they're above you. Presumably there was a vertical limit to trigger the
I don't
power.
know. I feel like they might have to do that because to some degree, because it's there's that bit of footage of the guy getting a moblin or whatever that thing was.
That's right.
Yeah, with a wind, he just picked up a massive paddle that blew Link off the platform, and of course during the playthrough the guy was like, "Oh well, never mind." And I'm like, "No, fuck you. That's really annoying." That's I'm going to be really pissed when that happens, and it's I want a way of getting back there easily.
Well, I'm sure if he'd mashed the button quick enough, he could have unragdolled and paraglided back onto the side before he'd fallen past it.
But
yeah. I don't think Ascend is going to be for going to the Sky Islands. Not very often. Maybe occasionally if they're low enough. But I think there's going to be an upper range limit from you to the ceiling you're trying to attach to that's going to prevent you from getting to most of them with that. Traveling between different ones on adjacent to each other, that will probably work. But
yeah, I don't know. Something worries me about the idea of you falling off this probably important and hard to reach place. And then being like,
well,
oh, God damn it.
I am also, probably there's going to be fast travel points that you will unlock as soon as you stand on an island. You'll go to the nearest shrine equivalent and then just create a fast travel point.
Yeah.
It will just be the puzzle of we'll be getting to an island for the first time, but then after that you will have a fast travel point.
Well, yeah, and then getting to the other islands, that could still be where these things might not be. And it's like that could still be problematic.
But I assume you will just be able to pop back up onto them once you have a thing. Or maybe there will be like special like ascend locations. Like maybe the do it wherever version requires a certain height of ceiling, but if it maybe for certain islands you can like once you get on them, once you can turn on the ascend zone or something.
Perhaps, yeah.
But then again, you might just find a fallen rock and do the rewind time on it instead. Which is basically the same thing.
Yeah. New mechanic, rewind time.
Yep.
And is it a slate ability? Like, do we know what's happened to the slate? Hand?
They're all hand abilities. You see him doing the hand.
Do what? Do the hand?
When he triggers the ability, his hand closes and then he points at it.
I'm going to do the hand.
It's all hand.
Hand clan.
No, we don't know. We don't know anything about the slate. We don't know whether you're going to have any of those abilities even.
No.
I suspect probably not. Mainly because Cryonis completely negates the pointless of boats. And obviously you don't need magnesis any longer now, you can pick anything up.
But can you pick stuff out of the air that's being thrown at you?
Probably.
Can you steal your enemy's weapons and fuse them because your one's about to break?
It would be funny if the fuse could trigger on something that someone was holding. Yeah. Like, you just stand next to them and go, yoink!
That would be pretty cool.
But yeah, I feel like all of the slate powers are probably going to go away, which is the one that's, like, obviously magnesis you don't need. Cryonis has too much overlap with the boat building mechanics now, so they obviously wouldn't want that. Stasis is kind of just rewind bit in a different form, so that's fine. But then, like, bombs is the problem. Because, like, I guess they can just make one of the fused arrow items really common and then have that be a cheap bomb arrow. Maybe one that does less damage, but it still creates an explosion so you can still use it to break things.
I wonder how necessary, like, that the actual Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts stuff really is.
Well, they've got to make it somewhat necessary, otherwise it'll be pointless.
Well, that's my concern. Yeah, I sort of... Because isn't the... Like, again, I didn't see all the footage on this because I was kind of trying to avoid it. But, like, wasn't there a bit where they basically build this little hovercraft with whatever the battery is to get across this, like, what seemed like an incredibly short gap in this river? And it's like, I'm pretty sure you could have swum that and it would have been quicker.
Well, he specifically said he didn't have enough stamina to swim that far, which was probably true, judging by how far it was. But then, like, but it wasn't a huge gap.
No.
But still, it's like if you wanted to get across it and now you don't have Cryonis, then yes, you're going to have to
that just makes,
have a boat.
That just makes that mechanic more annoying than good.
Well, I mean, that is the question.
Ugh.
I mean, that's definitely not the only way across that river, right?
Well, sure, you could, like, there's a whole cliff that you could probably just walk up on the side and go around that way. But then that's going to make that, then if you give people too many options to go around it, then they're not going to use the mechanic.
Also, swimming stamina, man. That can't be that bad. I could swim that distance.
Yeah, but that's not how it works in this game.
I'm not Link.
Link always sucks at swimming. I mean, he is carrying like 500 kilograms of stuff.
That's true.
Somehow.
He is carrying a lot of stuff. That would be problematic.
Although, I mean, this is my like personal headcanon. Like, it's the Sheikah Slate is like the teleporter buffer in the Star Trek games. Like, all the stuff goes into it, so it doesn't actually weigh anything.
Right.
Which is why you can just pull another weapon out of nowhere instantly because it's actually stored in the slate.
Oh, the slate is the bag of holding.
Yeah, that was my explanation anyway. Which is weird because, like, when you, this is why I thought that, or one of the reasons I thought that in Breath of the Wild is because when your weapon breaks, it has like that blue shattering animation. Sure, yeah. So I thought, that's because it's like it's the
losing
slate.
The pattern buffer.
It's like it's breaking from the slate. But then it still has that same effect in Tears of the Kingdom. So that's clearly not the case, unless the arm does the same thing.
Wow.
The arm is now the pattern buffer.
I mean, is it a Sheikah hand?
Maybe not. It might be a Zonai hand.
A Sheikah hand? Or maybe the Zonai are the Sheikah.
Yes, I mean, maybe it's all the same technology.
Still feels weird talking about like technology in a Zelda context. It's strange. And
then my other theory about Tears of the Kingdom, about the slate, is like maybe Zelda has it. Well, I mean, she does have it in that first trailer when they're in the cave looking at dead Gandalf or whatever. She has it, and then she falls in a hole, so she gets the slate, and then you play as Zelda in an underground sequence where you have the slate powers there as Zelda.
Could be.
Yeah, maybe.
That's good speculation.
Oh, I mean, if this was like a massive fake out, and it's like, well, not fake out, but like, you know, are we being Metal Gear Solid 2'd here?
Are you going to play the whole game as Zelda? I don't think so. I mean, I could definitely see there being like some kind of like sequences. I'm not sure how you would build that into the flow of the open world game. Like, I mean, if you go to sleep as Link, then you play a Zelda sequence or something. I don't know. But like, I could see there being like, this is
there could definitely be story moments.
Slate puzzle area for Zelda using the old abilities.
Yeah, I suppose they would have that problem, right? Because there's no essential progression in Breath of the Wild.
There wouldn't be any way to necessarily force you to trigger a sequence like that.
Yeah. Unless they're making some
changes.
Yeah, to make that work.
But, you know, I would say
you're finding Sheikah memories kind of like you did in the first game.
But they're not memories, they're like current memories.
Playable sequences, yeah.
But I think that's probably unlikely. I don't think you're going to play as Zelda still, as much as everyone wanted it.
You're probably,
I know.
You're probably right. I mean, clearly the biggest question on all of this is 2 years from now, are we going to get another fucking Hyrule Warriors with all these new abilities?
Clearly that's the question that everyone wants.
Oh, yeah. Everyone.
I mean,
how are you going to fit that into an alternate timeline?
I don't know. Well, I mean, who cares? Do what you want. Am I going to get some Robbie guitar action?
Probably. He'll probably still be around, I guess.
Wow.
He might even have a bigger role to play in this game, since it's like we're going into an even more technology-based thing, kind of.
Yes, quite. Definitely bring back random guitar solos for no reason. Because that fits.
And then, so they showed quite a lot of sky stuff, but still no cave. Well, not a lot, really caves. I mean, because they've shown that very brief shot in the previous trailer where it's like, oh, here's some moblins and Lizalfos and stuff mining in a cave. And it's like a big cave. So it's like, okay, big caves do definitely exist. But then that was where I was getting like, I was thinking of even more theories of just like, well, obviously you have the ascend power so you can get out of a cave real quick, right? But then what if you had like, what if you tried...
Assuming the ceiling's flat.
Well, assuming the ceiling's close enough.
If it's like cave curved, then maybe that could be a problem.
But then, like, could you come... Well, I mean, this might not even require a cave like this, but what if you tried to ascend from a cave, but you got into a different cave that you didn't know was there? Because it's in between the surface and the other cave.
Oh, yeah, like a secret cave, but like a... And what if there was no entrance to that?
Yeah, what if it was totally sealed off?
And then you've got to figure out how to get out.
Well, you ascend again.
Assuming the floor above it's flat.
Well, sure. And then I guess mentioning that, the other sort of theory that people have been having about exploration is that a lot of people wanted underwater exploration of some kind.
Really?
I don't know why.
Yeah.
but like, so when he dives from the Sky Island,
they want like some kind of like make the Zora suit like
sure,
lets you breathe
boots,
and
whatever.
Yeah,
do that again. But like when he dives from the Sky Island and he dives into the river, when he's actually underwater for that brief moment before he surfaces again, the ascend icon lights up.
Oh.
like you could use it to surface, which sort of maybe implies that there's
maybe some underwater stuff.
A case where you would be underwater enough for Ascend to be used in that way.
Huh.
Maybe.
Or
that was just a weird UI thing.
Do you reckon the Koroks are back?
Well, you do technically see one, but not in the way that not in the Breath of the Wild way. Like when he rides past the stable, there's a Korok there, like trapped by his massive backpack, being like, I need to get back to my friends, whatever that means. So the Korok still exists, but maybe not as a collectible. They might just be a thing.
I'm still a little concerned that it's too much like Breath of the Wild, right? That it's a little bit too Majora's Mask.
But that's what this is always going to be.
Majora's Mask was good.
Yeah, wow. But it's like Breath of the Wild is I guess what I mean is like Breath of the Wild is a massive game, and it's like,
yeah.
And this looks also, obviously this is also going to be massive, but half of it is the same world potentially. We still don't know a lot about that.
Yeah, that's true.
This has been a long time coming, and I've got a little bit of a concern. I've just got that a little bit. There's just that little worry in the back of my mind that it's just going to be too samey. And as someone that hasn't gone back to Breath of the Wild, that's not so much of a problem, I guess.
Not that it should matter. I mean, that's the whole point of Nintendo these days, is that it doesn't matter. But like for a big open world game, I think it's a bit concerning that like the technology's basically stood still. Just the graphics or whatever stood still. It's like it was fine when it came. I mean, it's beautiful, obviously, really beautiful game in a stylized way. Well, I mean, but we're getting to a point where you're showing this on a 4K TV, and it's like
the progression of the Switch. Like, if you just look back at the last 6 years of Nintendo Switch, like the unfortunate truth is Nintendo maxed that thing out day one,
right away, almost.
And no one has really been able to top it. People
are saying that the Metroid Prime remake is like the best looking game on the Switch.
The Prime Remastered is great, but it's a good looking thing. But I don't know, tech wise, it's like even that like doesn't feel new. Yeah, right? It's
I can't help wishing that it would have been nice if this had coincided with a new Switch. I don't know. For me anyway. For me who like can afford to buy a new Switch and a new Zelda game.
Sure.
Well, that only if it had been an actually new game though. If it was this game but with better graphics and it was just like a real sequel of Breath of the Wild and it was the same world and it was on a new system, then I could see people being more complaining about that.
Yeah, I guess so.
I know you can do it with Simu already, but like to run Breath of the Wild at 4K or something.
Yeah.
But and it looks pretty damn tight in that scenario. But I don't know if it ran at a solid 60 FPS, didn't drop frames everywhere, sharpened everything up a little bit. Well, not even a huge amount, just a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised if this game does run better than Breath of the Wild.
I suspect it will run worse because I reckon they'll be trying too much.
Well, I mean, it looked like it ran perfectly fine, but
the first game ran perfectly fine.
But I meant in the demo
it did after the patch, right?
Well, sure, depending on where you were. And obviously they didn't go to like Korok Forest or anything in the Kingdom yet.
Yeah, that did buckle it, didn't it? Yeah.
That didn't work,
But, he skydived from the island to the surface and it didn't, there was no hint of loading lag or anything.
No, sure, but that's just, they didn't have that in the first game. That's just an LOD. Probably,
well, they did if you use the, speedrunning tactics to get a lot of extra speed, you could definitely see it load.
Sure, but you're working potentially outside the intended parameters.
Sure, but I mean, skydiving is, well, I guess I don't know how fast it is compared to that.
I mean, what was faster, a horse or the master cycle? Like, if you were master...
They're about the same.
Okay. So, you're probably still working within the game's loading capability.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sky stuff is a long way up, so it's got time.
Well,
it's got time to stream what it needs to. Anyway, that's Zelda. Get hype for almost certainly Game of the Year.
Yep.
What else is happening in news? A lot of smaller things that aren't super exciting, other than Scott Pilgrim's getting a cartoon. I mean, I'm hyped for that. It's not really a video game, but it's a video game adjacent property. But it's getting we knew about that a while back, but like, yeah, all of the cast are coming back to do the cartoon. All of them.
The full cast of the Hollywood film, who have since most of them have got
even bigger,
more famous than they were at the time.
Yeah, like Michael Cera is coming back. Chris Evans is probably the obvious. Like he got much bigger than the role in Scott Pilgrim would have suggested. Yeah, Aubrey Plaza and all that stuff. They're all coming back. Brie Larson, big names. They're all back in a cartoon. And I'm calling it a cartoon because it's mostly a Western developed thing, but they do have a Japanese animation studio behind it, so everyone's calling it an anime. And I feel a little icky about that, but like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's probably not quite right, but
I mean, like, I guess they called that cyberpunk thing an anime, right?
Yeah, that's probably more because it was cyberpunk than because of the actual animation style.
Yeah. I guess that phrase is just getting a little bit thrown around now. I like to think it had a specific meaning at some point. Oh, anime news. What I'm remembering, like Netflix added another series of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure to their lineup,
right?
And it seems to be a series in between Stone Ocean and Stardust Crusader that they didn't already have,
right? So you suddenly going to learn like a lot of lore that you didn't understand in
I get the feeling it wasn't necessary to the progression, but I did have a little scroll through the episode list. And there is an episode called "Let's Go to an Italian Restaurant" that might, in fact, feature punching a spaghetti.
Finally, we've discovered where it was.
Yeah. I don't know. I still haven't finished Stone Ocean. I've kind of fallen off it for a long time because it's one of those shows that I don't know if I could like watch it with Gnome around, right? Like, not because it's particularly bad, but it is so weird and so out there at times that Gnome is just like, what on earth are we? And I did watch it a couple of times. And, she was about, and it's just like, okay, I won't subject you to this during my lunch breaks whilst you're at home looking after my child. It's just so I haven't really watched much of it. Still haven't finished it, but there may be spaghetti punching.
Yeah, maybe.
Anime news. Let's talk about a game that we don't care about, Ark Survival Evolved. Because that thing, it's been surprisingly popular, I guess, over the years. It's a survival game. But it has like a community mode which you play online and you form bonds with your friends as you carve a path through this world. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do any of that unless you bought I suppose if you've got the PC version, you're probably okay. But you need to buy Ark Survival Ascended if you want to carry on your escapades because they are shutting down the original version. Interesting thought that just occurred to me on that. Like, the Switch version didn't come out all that long ago, right? And it was terrible. And then they did it again or something because the original port job was so bad. They went back and revisited it and then reported it to the Switch. Presumably that means the Switch version is dying as a result of this because they're not going to be able to do a next-gen version and report that back again to the Switch, are they? Because they've said this next-gen version, I say next-gen, it's current-gen, I suppose now. It's like Series SX and PS5 generation, which meaning old Xbox and PS4 versions are going away.
I mean, they could still be running Nintendo-specific servers for that version, so that might not have any effect if they don't re-release that.
No, but I guess they weren't specific, but if they're saying they're shutting down the online stuff for that game, just blanket statement, then I would assume the Switch stuff is dying. Unless you're playing solo. Solo is still okay, and if you're running private servers, that's still okay. But I don't know. It feels like a bit of a dick move to be like, hey, everyone, buy the new thing, otherwise you're boned. Especially when they've just announced that they're delaying the release of Ark 2 until next year. I get it, like to an extent. Like servers are expensive. Running that stuff can't be cheap.
Yeah, but that's not what the problem is, though, right? Because they're still going to have to run the servers, just new ones.
They're going to have to run new servers. Yeah, you are not wrong. So yeah, dick move of the week.
I mean, it seems like it could go either way for them in this one. It's like either they maybe piss off a bunch of people and make some money, or they make basically no money because everyone is just going to wait for Arc 2.
Or they're just going to drop it, yeah, like a stone. Like, be like, well, you annoyed us before, but then... who knows? Who knows with this stuff? Talk about stuff going away. Let's talk about multiverses in this slightly weird scenario. So multiverses has been in open beta for the best part of a year, I want to guess. It's been a while.
Yep.
And it's a pretty good Smash-like game. It's pretty good. It's not Smash Brothers. Nothing could be Smash Brothers, as it turns out. But Multiverses is pretty good. It's got its own little take on it. But it's been in beta this entire time, taking your money so you can unlock characters permanently. Presumably there's aesthetic stuff there as well. I cannot really remember. So in about 3 months from now, they will be taking down the beta, so it won't be playable. Stating that the game will return in some form in early 2024. So that's quite a gap in service. That's like a 6-month downtime. And it's a slightly weird situation, right? Because they're in a situation where they've released the game has been out there. They've been taking money for it, but they're basically taking it offline for 6 months. And it's like, this would probably be fine if it was a beta version that didn't have any of that paid stuff. Everyone would have been like, "Oh, beta's over. No mind. We'll wait. It's fine." But because it's got paid stuff in it, obviously that's got people a bit angry. It's just it just feels weird, doesn't it, to like have a game go through this process? Like most early access processes have been games up, games out. There's not really been a gap.
I mean, there have been some cases where betas ended and they've had to, well, not really had to, but chose to refund people because they did allow people to buy things during that period. It's happened before.
And some of them have used that as like a testing period, right? We want to actually test that our transactional system worked. Here, have the money back. But
then this one is like a much larger gap than any I can remember.
It's long.
Which is why it feels weirder, but like it's like if you assume that it is actually going to come out, then it doesn't matter if you spent the money in the beta. It's just that because there's this huge gap, it feels different.
Yeah, you paid for something that you're not going to be able to use for at least 6 months.
Yeah.
I suppose that's no different from if you bought a new car these days. Like brand new car. So, you're on a 6-month waiting list. Oh, okay.
It's not quite the same. You didn't use the car for 3 months and then not use the car for 6 months.
Yeah. That is decidedly weirder. We've accidentally bricked all Teslas with a firmware update.
That could happen.
Give us 6 months, we'll get them working again.
But yeah, I don't know. It's slightly strange, but like I don't know, people. Maybe it's just a sign of trust issues where it's just like, if you want a refund, maybe that's an indication that you don't necessarily, or maybe it's just people trying to get out, where it's just like, I didn't actually like this game, but I spent some money. Here's an opportunity for me to get that money back.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to take any opportunity to get money back, right? Doesn't matter what it is. But also, I don't know, I think you're perhaps putting your money at risk when you're buying into a beta.
Well, yeah.
It's like there is a certain you are putting your faith in Warner Brothers.
Yep.
That they will honor the agreement in some way, or honor your money spending, which, that's foolish. It's Warner Brothers. It's any big corporation, right? But it's been in beta for a long time. You're like, maybe it should have been just considered out, and therefore you would have been more comfortable with spending your money on it because it's been there for like a year.
Yeah, that is the other problem, I guess, that the beta has been going for such a long time, relatively speaking.
Anyway, it's multiverses. Slightly weird scenario. I guess we'll hear about it again next year.
Maybe, if it actually comes out.
If it actually comes out, it isn't canned.
Or if it doesn't actually come out and comes out in beta again. That would be even weirder.
Beta 2. The 2024 beta. Finally, early reports about PSVR 2 suggest it is not selling well at all, which
no surprises.
I find hugely unsurprising, It's just a bit of an arse.
Because it's expensive.
It
is an arse.
I mean,
especially with the economy situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's twice the price of PSVR 1. And bear in mind that both of the PSVR solutions require you to have had a PS4 and now a PS5. It's like, you might argue that that's harder because PS5 has been difficult to get hold of. Up until fairly recently, so their install base can't be as big as what PS4's was when when PSVR 1 launched. I mean, also I wouldn't say there's a killer app for PSVR 2.
Not quite. I mean, people seem to like
Horizon,
Gran Turismo most.
Oh, right. Yeah, GT7 VR. Yeah, I can imagine that's pretty good.
Dedicated. Yeah, because if you're going to play a game a lot, that's the one probably.
Yeah, that's probably a good one. It's probably a good pick. But like, there's no return to Astro like that everyone has been. There's Astro's play Astro. What are they called? Astro Boy? No, not Astro Boy. That's something else. What's that game even called? The most Astrobot. That's what I'm looking for. There's no Astrobot game because like that was probably the killer app for PSVR 1. Probably. So $600 on top of your PS5 purchase for a wired headset that you're locked into the PlayStation ecosystem with. Slightly harder sell.
Are people getting that working with outside the ecosystem, or
not that I've heard, but I imagine people are trying because it's a good headset. Let's not knock it like technologically. It's
hardware.
It's a real good headset, and also apparently that like eye tracking stuff they do, and the what's it called? Like using, there's a technical name for it, but using where your eye is actually looking to render in high detail and then degrading
foveated rendering.
Something, that's it. Something like that. Apparently that works real well and is like unnoticeable whilst you're in VR, but people watching the screen output of it can see where you're looking because it's the sharp bit of the image. Apparently that's brilliant. Like, so good on them for actually making that tech work. It's not a bad headset. It's just Sony limited. Like every time people talk about this, they keep saying it's like, why on earth haven't they tapped Valve up to get Half-Life Alyx on this thing?
Because Valve wants to use that.
Yeah, that's the obvious. I mean, that might even tip me over to get it, to be honest. Because that's true. But then the Valve have been quite magnanimous about these things in the past, like back in the day, getting Orange Box onto all the consoles and stuff. Because
but that was like the one time they did that.
But Valve were pushing other agendas, weren't they, with their console play as well? Because they were trying to get hooks to Steam onto the consoles as well, which never really flew.
Yeah,
well, and then they kind of gave up on the console space. Although I still think they should revisit Steam Box again now that the Steam Deck.
Well, now's the time. Steam Deck is kind of a Steam Box.
Yeah.
So
That Steam Deck tech has got to the point where it's good. They could revisit it, and I'd be happy. I'd put one under my telly, right? If there was like a PC equivalent I could put under my TV, so I didn't have to use the laggy Steam Link from my PC to my TV.
Yeah, I'd consider that. That's a Steam Deck that's bigger, so it doesn't have to be so miniaturized. Doesn't have to have the screen
or
the controls
performance limited or anything like that.
Exactly.
If it just give it a larger box, sell it for the same price, I don't know. That space, they might be onto something now. If like the Steam box was just too early, right? They hadn't got it fully figured out. But it feels like they do now.
Yeah, it's true. And I think maybe they've learned that, it was a noble goal to make like an open standard so that manufacturers could make Steam boxes, but maybe they should just make their own fucking console. I mean, that's what they've done. So they should, and it's worked. So just, yeah.
Yeah, because Steam Deck has become a performance target, right? You can you've got a thing to spec against. And sure, there's plenty of like Steam Deck competitors about now. Like I think Razer have got one.
Yeah.
There's a few Chinese manufacturers making portable PCs that are apparently pretty good, but they don't. But they're not like this Linux powered. They're Windows powered. Ultimately, those things. They're not like this custom made Linux box running Electron to compatibility layer to make everything work. And it's there's something fancy about the Steam Deck. Don't let this opportunity slip, Valve. You're onto something. I mean, I've considered buying a Steam Deck because it might actually make sense to dock it next to my TV to play some lighter weight indie games that way. Right. I've considered it. I mean, it's still like nearly $1,000's worth of hardware. Like, it's expensive. But I think I'd probably upgrade my PC first. And then I'd still be stuck with Steam Link not working very well. Money.
But yeah, put Half-Life Alyx on the PSVR 2 and then do a deal. Come on, guys. I'll buy it.
I mean, you're Sony.
Maybe.
You could probably spend that money to get that game.
Yeah. Because let's face it, you're not going to make as good a VR game as that in the next year. So just do it. And get someone put up the cash to do Star Wars Squadrons.
I mean, did they support that with PSVR? I mean, it's already got VR on PC.
Did, yeah. Anyway,
that's kind of the point. I mean, if they just opened PSVR 2 up so to be like, hey, this will interact with.
If everyone just stopped trying to shut their VR off from each other, the whole market would be better.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's kind of amazing that the Quest actually does. I mean, I'm very happy that it does, but like the Quest 2 actually lets me just hook into Steam VR, and that it's
some effort.
After some effort, yeah, it took a little bit of a faff for me to dial it in, but like it does work, and the VR performance over Wi-Fi is good. Like that's kind of amazing, especially on my like now slightly aging PC hardware. Y'all should be doing that. That's news. I got anything else. And Zach's got that look in his eye.
He's got the.
Did we actually talk about E3 being cancelled? Because that happened about the same time as Zelda.
No. That's
did we not cover that on a podcast?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, E3's off. There's no E3.
Yeah. No more E3 podcasts.
I mean, it's not just COVID, like stopped playing.
Not virtual E3.
It's not. Oh God.
I mean, it could still. No, not. It'll be a bunch of companies doing presentations at approximately June/July time, but it won't be E3.
It's like a landmark moment, isn't it? Like for the industry, it's like there's no E3.
Well, maybe. Did anyone really care any longer?
But it kind of already happened, didn't it? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, Microsoft and Sony announced like earlier this year they were pulling out. Nintendo hadn't been there for years.
Yeah.
I think Ubisoft said not long before the cancellation that they were out.
It seemed like once we were running down towards Ubisoft definitely not going, that was just like that's the end of it. That's where we pull the actual plug.
The big publishing, most of a lot of the biggest publishing houses are just given up and like saying, no, I mean, there's no point in us being there. Where's the draw? the draw is now PAX, right? And events like that,
Well,
like they've stolen E3's thunder completely.
Well, but not really. There's a different, like...
It's a different vibe. Don't get me wrong. There's not where the reveals happen, right? It's not a press conference scenario.
I mean, it might be now. Maybe they'll move some of the reveals over to PAX.
No, I reckon the Keeleys are going to steal that thunder, right? It's like all going to be in Jeff Keighley based shows,
about that.
or their own shows.
Well, yes,
right?
that's
like,
what's actually going to happen. Like
Microsoft have already shown this year that they're probably tempted to go the Nintendo Direct route, right? With the January dev thing. I forget what they called it now.
Yes,
but Microsoft leaning into the more digital presentation is.
It's not like their presentations weren't practically digital presentations anyway. It's just that they happened to be standing on a stage to record parts of it.
No, but Microsoft. I mean, it's a little bit of a shame because Microsoft were the best at it, right? Their stage shows were some of the best made.
Sure,
but this means we're now not going to get Ubisoft's weirdness.
Well, or you might get more Ubisoft weirdness because they might be getting into video editing.
Well, I mean, their last one was really dull, right? The last one they did.
Yes.
Sony it seems like are just going to stick to state of plays now, which are even drier than Nintendo's Directs.
Yeah.
So they're not particularly interesting. I assume we're still going to get Devolver's madness.
Yeah, because that's just a video.
Yep. I'm hoping we're still going to get that in some form. I mean, and EA have been completely uninteresting in that space for like a decade.
Well, yeah, and they've been doing their own thing like Microsoft, except worse.
Oh, but it sucks so bad.
But the death of E3 is like it basically died about 5 or 6 years ago, even before the pandemic, when like it became not a trade show because trade shows were irrelevant. Yeah. That trade shows were irrelevant probably even before that.
Maybe. There is a certain... I guess, like, events like Gamescom and GDC have still provided the networking. Because, like, okay, for us, yes, E3 is now potentially... For people like you and I who are just fans of the industry... E3 has kind of perhaps lost its relevance, and like it lost its relevance as a show for the proper journalist outlets as well.
Yeah,
because there was less and less point of them actually being at a show. But surely what is the replacement? Like everyone always talks about these big conferences as being like as a networking thing, as a social thing, like just as much as it is hey, we're revealing these things.
Yeah, but I don't know if it is on that level. Like originally, it would have been like retail, like making deals with making connections with like actual shops or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
and obviously that hadn't been relevant for quite a long time.
I believe it absolutely used to be that. Like GameStop would see a game and go, "We want this many copies, please."
Yeah,
and it would actually be done there.
But then, like, I mean, what other networking is there? Like the devs. I mean,
that's what GDC is for now.
Yeah. But did they even do that at E3 at any point through its history?
I mean, it's another way.
Was it a time to do that? Because
I think it's because everyone was in the same place. It became convenient, right?
Sure.
So everyone would we'll have our meeting with the publishers now because everyone's here. Why not do it now? But
now you can just do a Zoom call.
Yeah, which is I think what everyone just does.
So yes, about like at least 5 years ago, E3 was probably already totally irrelevant.
But I wonder if
just clung on.
I wonder if that closes some opportunities, like accidentally, because you don't just bump into someone. Like you could be having you could be having a conversation with another developer. Like say Tim Schafer wanders up to your booth and you have a chat, and then someone comes over to see him, and because there's like, oh hey man, how you doing? Yeah, let me introduce you to this guy, and you don't get those sort of like accidental like introductions and things like that.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
But like, how important is that even? I don't know.
I mean, I think that stuff is pretty important, especially if you're an up and coming studio.
Yeah, but if you're an up and coming studio, you're not E3. That's the thing. That it's more important than the PAX situation.
True. You've already got some sort of deal. You're already connected if you're at E3. You're probably right. It's where PAX and what EGX I guess is on
the smaller ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, E3 probably doesn't matter that it's dead, and it was inevitable.
I mean, the way the ESA were conducting themselves.
Well, yes, obviously,
that really
the
didn't help.
Business side, the business back end of E3 was a disaster zone for quite a while as well.
Yeah. I think I'm going to miss it. I think there was something special about that. Just that week period of like, right, games are happening.
That still might happen.
I mean, it still might. I mean, Summer Game Fest attempts it, right?
I mean, I would imagine that like, well, maybe not. Maybe this is putting a bit too much of a like dramatic conspiracy theory or whatever on it. But like, if you're Microsoft and you have your what would have been E3 presentation ready to go, and you want to put it out. Obviously, you have to put it out around the same time, mainly for like timing, because like you want to get people hyped over the games that are going to come out at the end of the year or whatever.
Sure. I mean, yeah, there's
a natural sort of time to do it.
Yeah, it was a perfect zone for the holiday period hype.
But then are you going to be like, are Microsoft and Sony going to be in like a Mexican standoff where they both have their presentation ready to go, but they're waiting for the other one to release their one so they can release their one at the same time to counter-program it?
I bet.
But then if no one does it, eventually you're going to run out of time. So someone's going to have to go first, and then the other person is just going to do theirs. So you're essentially just going to form a June games time naturally.
I think that's already happened once, right? Like at least I think it was between Sony and Nintendo, right? Like Sony already had a thing on, and then Nintendo announced, like, because Nintendo do things super last minute now, right? It's like, oh, by the way, we're doing something tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then I think Sony tweeted them online to say, busy day, huh?
Yeah.
Because it's like, because we're both doing a thing. But unless Nintendo don't care. Like, it probably wasn't counter-programming. They probably just don't care.
But yes, the inherent nature of counter-programming is just going to cause these kind of even just video presentations to align naturally, I would say.
Yeah.
So you're still going to get the June E3 equivalent drop of information, probably.
Well, it might be like, it's probably just going to be the same as it has been for the last few years,
well, yes.
Right? Where it's just been spread out that little bit more. Everyone's had that little bit more room to breathe. It's made reporting the news on these events mildly easier.
Yep.
And most importantly, I think Jeff Gerstmann can safely say he's been to every E3, right?
Now that they're over, that's got a definitive statistic.
100%.
Every single one. Yeah.
And that means we won't get another Weed 3. So.
Well, that was technically at the EA thing though, so you could still get that.
Oh, that's true. It was the EA thing, wasn't it? Yeah, where they got Snoop Dogg and Jamie Foxx amongst people who play Battlefield.
They weren't on a LA rooftop at that time, though.
Oh, yeah.
That was a different one.
Man. Crazy days. The modern world is dull. Let's just end that statement there.
Well, things have just got dull.
Yeah.
It's dullified. Things are dead around. the things are replaced by different things. Don't know if they're necessarily better.
Yeah.
Well, they were at least been replaced by slightly more convenient things. A bunch of journalists don't have to fly to LA to do any news reporting.
No, but isn't
convenience will increase to the point where we're all in those fucking chairs from WALL-E.
Yeah.
Hasn't there been like a weird return to like the press day?
Well,
recently?
sure. I mean, that would make sense if you don't have E3 to do that any longer.
Like,
but that's not
press days for that Lego 2K Drive thing where they got a bunch of journalists to come play the game, and I think Yakuza Ishin did it as well. Like,
but journalists already hated that outside the context of E3.
Well,
whenever a company would try and do one of those outside that time period,
because it's preview bribery, essentially.
Well, and that. But I mean, people might try to go back to that, but I think they probably all know that doesn't work. Rob just had a hilarious cramp and managed to not make a terrible noise.
Oh my god, I'm subduing it. Oh, right in the
right in the muscle where crabs tend to be.
I couldn't remember what the name of it is. What's the fat part of your leg called?
Calf.
No, that's down
the
there.
other one.
That's down, above the knee. Thigh,
Thigh.
but the back of your thigh, like the under thigh.
I think the back is more the thigh than the top.
Right in the under thigh.
Oh yeah, because it's your quads on the front, isn't it? And I've broken out in a sweat now. Oh man, that was not fun.
We better talk about games then, because they're fun.
What you've been playing. Well, Zach, why don't you go since Rob's in agony?
Rob needs some moments to recover.
I'm alright. It's passed.
Yeah.
Well, I played a bit of Breath of the Wild.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Because of course, I was appetized by seeing a game that's very similar.
Appetized.
But what I actually did was, which kind of helped me immediately immediately stop playing it, so I'm not probably going to continue playing it, is I went to my alt account and then started the master mode save on that account.
Mode.
Right, yeah.
Because I hadn't made a master mode save on that account, so it wasn't overwriting anything. And then I quickly remembered my master mode is bad.
Okay.
Well, not really.
Is it just bad?
Not really bad. It's just like annoying.
Just
awkward to type.
It's meant to be annoying, though, isn't it?
Well, yes, that is the intention.
It's not really.
But like the trouble is, it just like
good kind of bad.
It makes it even more than Breath of the Wild already was. It makes it so you just don't fight anything. Because you can't afford, like, you come down the hill, like, you come out of the shrine,
worth it, right?
You walk down the hill picking up a bunch of branches and that axe, and then the first bokoblin that's there is a blue bokoblin, and that will use all of your weapons to just kill that one guy.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't fight him until you're powered up, or...
Well, yeah, from what I remember of playing Master Mode the first time for it, it's like, you get to sort of the mid-game point where you're fighting relatively decent weapons, and it's like, now you can get into combat if you want, but you're still going to expend a lot of weapons because now you've got, like, the gold grade enemies that are even tougher than the silver ones.
But you don't get enough out of it for it to be worth fighting them, is it?
I mean, like I said, Breath of the Wild was already quite like that, where it's like,
yeah, it's true.
Is it worth trying to fight everything in this camp for that one chest to unlock, which probably just had a ruby in it? It's like, is that worth it?
I typically don't bother. Yeah,
but yeah, I very quickly remember that. And then I also remembered that, like, the health regen in Master Mode is ridiculous as well. Like, when I was fighting that first bokoblin, and I was using the woodcutter's axe, where when you do the combo hit, it knocks them over. And literally only the amount of knockback that axe does, like, it knocks them, like, 10 feet away. In the time it takes you to run over to them, their health has already started regenerating.
Wow.
You have to be so fast.
I didn't think health regened whilst you were still in combat.
No, that's how it works in Master Mode.
Huh.
It just starts regenerating as soon as you're not hitting them, basically.
Oh my god. So how does that work when you're facing, like, the tougher enemies?
It gives you a bit more leeway, I think, on the bigger enemies, and also it's like staggered health regeneration. Like, if they go below a certain point, they only go back up to that point.
So you have to make sure you get all your damage in one go.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of brutal. But then, and then I also relearned the way to solve the problem of Master Mode of infinite backstabs. The stupid technique where when you sneak attack an enemy and they ragdoll, if you just move 180 degrees around to where they would be facing, when they jump up, they automatically turn around to see what was behind them, and then just backstab them again. And then you can chain that forever until they just die. Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful on the Master Mode. I
yes, it's real dumb.
It's quite unspotting on normal mode, but yeah.
It's mainly dumb just because of the way that, like, when they unragdoll and jump up, they're basically looking right at you, but because it's a preset thing that they always turn around, they don't actually notice that you're just sitting there before they turn around and they backstab them again.
Wait till they get up and then jump.
Yeah, they unragdoll.
It's not like they just get up and twist as they're getting up.
No, they unragdoll upright and then do a jumping animation to turn around and see what's behind them. So there's that, like, once they've unragdolled, they're basically looking directly at you.
Hi. What?
And they're just like, please do that again.
Yep. Keep doing it for as many times as you can chain that together.
Here is my delicious bag. You take a bite.
And then I didn't fight the Lionel that's on the plaza in Master Mode because that would be even more impossible. Even if you scavenged all the best weapons possible out of the plaza, I don't think you could kill that thing, except for that one type of attack where you're riding on its back that doesn't do weapon damage for some reason.
So does some of these rules still apply for like the major fights, like the blights?
Yeah, they all have health regen and all that.
Shit, really?
Yep.
Oh my god. That's a hard pass
Yep.
for me.
Master Mode was pretty damn hard.
But it always was. Like, the Master Modes in Ocarina of Time was stupid as well, wasn't it? I remember.
But doesn't this Master Mode also have all the weird stuff, like Octo Balloon platforms?
Yes. That's the main difference. Just the shit ton of Octo Balloon platforms everywhere. But though, as I think I said this the first time I played it, it's like you learn relatively quickly that those are actually good, not bad, because you just use an arrow to snipe the Octo Balloons and the platform tips off, which that's fine for killing enemies. But like a lot of those platforms have chests on, so that's just a way to harvest extra weapons.
Nice,
right? And that's got to play into Tears of the Kingdom, right? And
Octo Balloons, yes, I would imagine so.
Yeah. What, stick an Octo Balloon on the end of a stick and then you like
float upwards? Yeah. Mary Poppins it.
I haven't seen any Octo Balloons in the marketing for.
No,
seems like an obvious one. Tears of the Kingdom,
just a regular hot air balloon.
I'm gonna attach a villager to the end of a stick. See what happens. Not an item, but I can dream. I'd just attach like the ghost of Rivali to the end of a stick and just be like, I can fly anywhere.
I'm not sure ghosts would be able to lift you very much.
I don't know, they hurt you.
Rivali's wind is basically already like being lifted up by the ghost of Rivali, right?
No, it's just wind. It's just a weird gust of wind that comes from somewhere.
Okay, it's a weird gust.
I mean, we didn't mention it when we were talking about Tears of the Kingdom earlier, but don't forget that Ascend is basically going to be the replacement for Rivali's Gale. Because you won't have that any longer, presumably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess they're not going to do the whole revisit the champions thing again.
And you're obviously going to lose all your powers because you have to. Back to free hearts.
Sure. Yeah, how did that? Well, Link had time off, right, between that, so you got fat.
Well, clearly all the champion powers were stored in the arm. When the arm gets fucked up, you lose all your powers. It's like Samus's suit, except it's only in the arm. So yes,
was that the arm that had his Triforce hand on, though?
Probably, I guess. Because
maybe they were in his Triforce.
Because it would be that. Is it that hand, Dan? Do you remember in Zelda, in older Zelda lore?
Is it the left hand?
Yeah, is it the left hand, the sword hand that has the Triforce?
But they changed the sword hand. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In this game, it would be the right hand, which is the one that's fucked up now.
Yeah.
But
wait, they changed his handedness.
Because he's always left-handed traditionally.
Yeah.
But since when they had motion controls, they had to switch it to being right-handed so people could play it.
Yeah, I knew that. Oh, I didn't realize that. I kind of didn't notice that they stuck to the right hand.
No,
I thought they'd gone back to the left.
I think they did. Did they? I don't remember. You'd think I'd recognise just from seeing the visuals on the screen for so long. You'd think I'd notice.
That's what I mean. I have no recollection of which way round it actually is.
It feels right-handed.
Yeah, I want to say my memory of not actual Zelda, but Hyrule Warriors. I think he's holding it in his right hand.
But yeah, I mean, Triforce didn't appear in Breath of the Wild either. So even if we're supposing the Triforce does still exist, maybe it got fucked up by the hand getting fucked up. Maybe the Triforce will appear in this game. Maybe that's the secret. We thought the Master Sword was enough, but then we found Gandalf's body, and then now we need the actual Triforce. Story spoilers, theoretically. In a Zelda game.
Speculation.
So anyway, that was the small bit of Breath of the Wild that I played. Getting ready. Getting my skills back on.
I wouldn't get ready. I was like, I don't want to...
I mean, I'd totally play Breath of the Wild again. I'm totally fine. I'll play that game several times. I don't care if it's the same world, literally the same world. Yeah. Any difference is going to be a bonus for me.
I know. You are the exception.
Not, less so than with many games. I think it's probably a replayable game compared to most.
Also, you know, you can definitely not cover all of that map very easily, even if you tried to. Get all 900 Koroks, and then you'll see how much of that map you cover.
Mm.
So yeah, there was that. I played some Oxygen Not Included because I hadn't been back to that for a while, and they have now started doing their big not DLC updates where they mysteriously decided that they didn't want to make DLC any longer and just going to go back to doing normal free updates of relatively large proportions.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have.
But they put out a DLC, right?
Yes, they put out the one DLC and then decided that they didn't like that model or whatever.
Well, they gain more sales through updates?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing. Like,
it works for some companies.
I was about to say it's like they didn't like that business model, but I'm not sure. Like, they haven't replaced that with a different model. They've replaced it with free, which, like, I mean, yes, that will get you some more sales from goodwill, I guess.
Sure. I mean, it's the No Man's Sky thing, right? They keep updating that game, and somehow that is making money.
Well, or they've been living off the ridiculous amount of money they got at the start for all these years.
What, from Sony?
That's possible too with No Man's Sky. But yeah, so what they have changed that
would make business sense to keep updating it if they've just got that one-off payment.
That's sort of related to the business model aspect is that they've implemented the thing that they did in Don't Starve where you get like random drops that are like, well, I think in Don't Starve they are as well, but it's like cosmetic drops, but you get them like over time. And it's got you get 3 drops a week or whatever for a certain number of hours played for random cosmetic stuff to put into your game. And it's like, what is that business model even? Because I don't think there's any store element of that. I don't think you can go and buy points or anything.
Still all free.
But it seemed to work for Don't Starve as well. I guess it kept the people playing that. So they basically chose to implement the same thing in Oxygen Not Included as well.
I guess there's a logic to, like, if people are still playing it, then there's people still talking about it. Therefore, there's possibly this.
Yeah,
still
I guess
the possibility to introduce people to it.
Yeah,
you know, keep that tail long.
And the updates that they have done since I last played have mainly been focused on, like, well, is what they call story traits, which are just like special ruined buildings you find on the asteroids that have like a little, you know, mission associated with them where you have to supply it with a certain amount of whatever and then it triggers a thing that gives you a bonus, or, you know, it's like a little mini quest built into the world rather than the sort of fully open-endedness of that game. But yeah, I tried to do one of them where it's just like, it's this giant brain tank that, like, if you can power it up, it gives you like a bunch
Metroid.
Yeah, like Mother Brain, basically. But if you can power it up, it gives you like stat bonuses on all your duplicates. But in order to power it up, you have to give them pajamas to make them sleep better, so they can create dream journals, and that's what powers up the giant brain tank.
Huh.
But then while you're wearing the pajamas, it makes you really slow, which is like. And unfortunately, there's no way to like auto-equip the pajamas. You just have to wear them all day. So it's basically you're having this penalty to your speed through the whole process of building up enough dream journals to turn on the giant brain. But then once it's over, you get this big bonus to all your stats for as long as the dream journals last, which is like you put 25 in and it lasts like 16 days or whatever of the buff before the dream journals run out. So in theory, you'd want to have. I did see like someone had made a version where they had basically the brain and a special little mini barracks next to it, where you had
dream farm.
Yeah, the dream farm, where you had 6 duplicates who only spent their entire day sleeping. Like they'd wake up to basically eat and then just go back to bed again. So you were getting the maximum amount of dream time to generate the journals as fast as possible, so that you could apply the buff to everyone else. But that's like a bit much to keep that many. Well, it's a bit much in terms of like, for me, processing power. Like, I can't afford to waste six like AIs running just to sleep. I need that processing power for actually doing things.
Does it actually cost that much to just simulate them doing nothing?
Well, maybe not. I don't know. And I guess there's also the food cost. You do have to keep them alive.
Sure.
Food and oxygen and that kind of thing. But yeah, I did that. And then I was like, I don't know if this is worth it. So, but luckily, of course, you can just turn those things off in the world gen. So you can choose which ones you want to be able to spawn or just turn them all off. So you can...
Well, I mean, even if it was there, you didn't have to engage with it.
Sure, right? But then you run into a very me problem of like, then it's in the way. Then it's just an obstruction that I'd like not to be there so I can build my base in the very precise way that I build my base. The classic problem of that game. Whenever I'm building like my main stairwell or whatever, and there's just like a thing in the way at the bottom where like my stairwell would theoretically cut through it and keep on going down, I'm like, no, that one thing has spawned exactly in the wrong place. I'm going to have to build a little annoying L shape to go around it. And that'll make everything slightly less efficient because then you have to path around. Boo. That's the problem with random generation. But yeah, I played...
Procedural bitching.
Yep. I played some of that. Oh, and I guess this most recent patch has finally turned back on meteors in the DLC.
Oh, right.
Because in the base game, the meteors constantly rain down on the surface and they damage everything and they like deliver a bunch of heat as well because they're hot and you have to deal with it. Because I'm sure I talked about it tons on the podcast where I was like, my early versions of dealing with that was just like build a wall basically, cut a straight strip across the map and then just let them pile up on top of that. And then in later versions, they sort of toned down the amount of damage they did, but they still dumped a bunch of stuff and heat. And then in the DLC, they just didn't have meteors. They just went away. And at the time, I was like, oh, well, you kind of need that because everything is based about space travel now. You need to be able to just be on the surface of the asteroid without everything getting constantly fucked.
Yeah.
So that made sense. But now they've basically bringing meteors back, but they're bringing them back in a like much less harsh way where like each asteroid that you're on, it randomly chooses a type of meteor shower for that asteroid, which may be related to like the actual biome of the asteroid or whatever. But the meteors are like much smaller and they do, as far as I can tell, no damage except to like very soft materials like sand maybe will break if a meteor hits it directly. But then
and sand can break.
Well, the tile of sand breaks into a chunk.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, they seem to be much like gentler. And actually, in some cases, well, probably a lot of cases, beneficial, because previously the meteors were all just regolith, like it would just dump basically sand, except it's called regolith because that's a different kind of sand, on the top of the asteroid and it'd be hot. But now you get meteor showers of different types. So like my main asteroid in this save has ice meteors, which is actually great because you can harvest water and cooling just by letting the meteors hit the top of your base. And then, like, the next asteroid over, which already has a uranium biome, has uranium meteors coming on the surface, so you get even more uranium, although those ones are hot, so eventually the surface of that one is going to heat up a bit. So yeah, meteors are back, but they're not quite so annoying to deal with. And there's also a new building that you can get in the late game, so you can shoot down meteors if you want, but it seems like way too much expense. And, you know, maybe there's some kinds of meteors in the later game, like in the further out asteroids where it becomes dangerous again, so maybe you will actually want that again. But definitely not worthwhile to shoot down any of these meteors. All the ones that I'm seeing at the moment are this is just free stuff. And technically a lot of the meteors in the base game are free stuff because apart from the regolith ones, you also get like the occasional iron or copper meteorites coming down, which is just like free metal. It's really hot, but it's free. So there's that. I played one other thing, but I feel like I've forgotten what it was, which is a bad sign. And it's also probably something really important. What did I mean, we played Derg a bit, as we do.
We did.
Sometimes.
We shot some terrifying looking bunny rabbits.
Yeah, we did far too many egg hunts.
Easter updates. Right, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it is a bit frustrating. Like the assignment was just like do nothing but egg hunts.
It's only made slightly bearable by the fact that the egg hunts are like the shortest mission type, so you can do like especially if it's the short egg hunt, then you can get like 5 of those done in the time it takes to do one other mission.
It requires a little bit more faff on the bigger ones because it's especially if you do it the way we do it and we don't just rush it.
Yeah, we clear everything. It's very slow.
Probably should stop doing that.
Oh, probably. I mean, we can definitely tone down the amount of nitro we mine.
Yeah.
We can easily get away with 1 resupply, sometimes 2.
2's usually good.
But I would assume you'd still want to mine the gold, because,
need money
to buy all the unlocks. Even I still need money. Mainly because I'm still just grinding my way through buying every cosmetic. And the occasional cores. I'm still working on the cosmetic overclocks.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And I feel like I probably haven't even made a dent since the last time I talked about it. Because of that time when I counted it up theoretically based on ones I already had, but not the other classes versions, and it was like 100 that I still had to get. I think I've probably got as many completely new things as I have got other classes versions of things I already have. So I still might have about 100 to go. God damn it. So much fucking stuff to unlock.
Derg.
Yes, Derg.
Waiting for that next season. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that next season. God damn.
I need some different stuff to do.
Oh, I remember what the other thing I played was. Luckily, I was about to say we should move on, but I didn't remember. I played the full version of Terra Nil because it came out.
Oh, yeah.
Finally.
I saw an advert for that. It's like, why is it? What's with Netflix games or whatever?
Weird.
Is that right?
Is it?
No, it's not. It's not Netflix associated as far as I know. It's Devolver technically, but
Terra Nil official game trailer Netflix.
Weird.
The
trailer is just on Netflix.
The trailer's on Netflix. That's pretty weird in itself. Unless Netflix games are trying to make it like TV
are they
games.
Publishing it? Or
I don't think so. Like I said, it's Devolver, and there's a sub-publisher. No, I think the studio is Free Lives. Maybe weirdly, it's the people who made Broforce.
Right.
Doing this completely not Broforce-like game.
Available exclusively on Netflix. Yeah.
Well, I mean...
Available exclusively for Netflix members. What? I don't understand.
Oh. And it's free for Netflix members.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Are they presumably they're starting their own,
They've been trying for a while to spin up Netflix games because...
Are they trying to make a Steam? Like they're going to just sell games?
I don't think they want to sell them. I think they want to just be like Game Pass.
I mean, that's technically selling.
But this seems to be
But if you've got a Netflix account, you get access to things.
It looks
available on
it's
iOS and
Android.
Games.
Yeah. So presumably, if you download the iOS or Android game, you then have to sign in with your Netflix account, and then it's free.
Yeah,
because they're free in the sense of you've paid for Netflix.
Right. Okay. I guess that sort of makes sense.
Which kind of makes sense.
They're saying the mobile game is the same, so it works just as well.
Okay.
Well, yes. I mean, it's definitely not a game that requires much. Annoyingly, I was going to make a video of it in our week off because I was like, I knew it was about to come out, and I was like, okay, so I can make a video of that after our failed recording,
which I put up anyway,
which are uploaded anyway as a rough cut.
Yeah.
But my system still can't even handle it. It's a game that requires very little, but like I didn't want to upload a video of a game that is basically just about the nice graphics running at like 20 frames a second.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I won't do that one.
Yeah.
Happily works in little 10 to 20 minute bursts as well, apparently. So the mobile thing isn't a big drawback.
I guess. I mean, doing one level takes longer than that.
Yeah.
If you do it in one go, but you can save at any time. But yes, it's an ecological anti-city builder. start with a wasteland and make it nice again. Using a variety of technology that seems way too powerful.
Factorio's been and gone.
Yep.
So
now unshit the planet.
Yep.
But yes, it's a weirdly like. I mean, people say it's not meant to be difficult or whatever. Like it's meant to be an easy game, and in some ways it is, but in some ways it does have difficulty. Like there is a distinct amount of puzzle element to it, especially depending on like what different technologies are in the level.
Yeah,
where it's just like
how do I solve it with these limitations?
Yeah, and the limitations of the terrain are built into that. Like the second level, the first level, when you're recycling all your buildings, it's based on a boat moving around waterways. So you have like a trench digging device that can extend the waterways to allow your boat to access other areas. And then on the second level, it changes to be like the recycling process is done by a monorail, but you can only build the monorail support poles on rocks. So you have to generate more rocks to be able to extend the monorail network. Mm. And, that's not super complicated. But then it has this weird difficulty curve where you have a resource limit. You have a cost to everything you're building. And in the early game, you can like accidentally run out of money if you try and do like when you start by detoxifying the landscape. That's step one, and then step two is putting the grass back, basically. But building the buildings to detoxify costs money, but when you put the grass back, that makes money. So you can sort of run out of money in the early game if you try and do too much detoxification before you place any green. Grass. But it's not actually a danger because you can just, as soon as you put one grass thing down, it makes its money back.
You're getting some money.
Yeah. So that's not really a danger in the early game. But then in the mid game, when you move into making the specific biomes and adjusting the climate, especially with the climate, because adjusting the climate only costs resources, it doesn't make resources. So you're building like cloud seeders to up the humidity or like burning small patches of land to up the temperature or whatever. That only costs money until there's like, it's this weird difficulty. It's like a difficulty anti-spike. Like you have this mid-game where you're spending more resources than you're making. Your resources are running out and you're getting close to like danger. But then if you adjust the climate enough on every level, there's a point where it basically starts to rain, or snow in some cases. And rain just basically cleans up all the rest of the toxins, which just makes you a shit ton of cash. Like all the areas you couldn't reach because you didn't have enough money or like your buildings couldn't reach far enough in the early game. As soon as you trigger the rain, you just sit there for a minute and just rake in all that extra money.
See, yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
You get like a Monopoly Tycoon 6 a.m. effect.
Yeah, basically. Although it is slightly annoying because it does it like as it starts raining, random tiles start getting affected. So you do literally pretty much just have to sit there for a minute while it rains, while it randomly pops all the tiles back to grass and gives you the income. And then you have to do the cleanup phase. And
who's paying you? It's the grass paying.
It's not really money. It's ecology points or whatever. I think it's just called greenery. It's just a leaf icon.
Oh.
Get up your greenery.
And then
green.
In the end game, you have this other weird like undifficulty spike where after you've fixed the climate, you've got a big pile of cash. So you're not really so limited by resources. But you still have to manage the like the monorail or the boat. You have to manage getting to your buildings to recycle them. But then even if you were going to be running out of cash at that point, you're recycling the buildings, so you get all the cash back from them as well. And then there's other weird mechanics like if you're on the levels with the monorail's other special ability is it can pick up a building and move it, which just redeploys it. So you can like save money by not building a new building by just moving the old one around. It still costs money to pick them up, but it's like less than the cost of building a new building or whatever. But then that moving buildings around mechanic extends into like specific buildings that you have to move around. Like you build the coral breeder on land, but then you have to deploy it into the water using the monorail.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, that's the sort of puzzle elements of that game. And then once you've gone through, it's not a very long game also, by the way, in case you hadn't maybe already figured that out. But once you've gone through the 4 levels of each different climate, it then unlocks like the remix versions where you get different equipment. So like the first level, now you don't get the boat, you get the monorail instead, except the terrain is differently shaped, so it's a different challenge on that as well.
Right. And these are predefined, not pre-genned.
They are randomly generated, but it's like to a shape. Like, so the remix of the first level is basically a crater, but then like where the rocks and like where the edges of the cliffs of the crater are can be slightly different, but it's going to be approximately that shape.
Is it possible for it to generate one that's harder than?
Well, I haven't really ever replayed any of the levels to see, but like I get the feeling, particularly the remix version of the tropical level, the big difficulty there was, in order to grow jungle, you have to build these poles that attach and then like put a shade over an area. And the poles can only attach onto the side of cliffs, basically, high ground. But in the remixed version of the levels, you only get like single tiles of cliff randomly scattered around the map. So that one seems like that could be quite difficult depending on how close together those bits generate, or whether they generate in range to attach the poles together. I assume it must, in the procedural generation, it must like calculate that on the back end to be like, to allow you to theoretically have enough space, assuming you can work out where to put them.
Yeah, that's not the solution. Is there a different solution?
No, I don't think there is, though. Originally, I thought there might be, because there are some buildings that let you dump soil to make raised areas, but that level doesn't actually have any of them. That's why while I was playing that level, I was assuming that was going to be a thing that happened. I was assuming that because you don't get to see the next tier of buildings until you get to that tier. So I was like, oh, I remember in the ice level, there's this tier 2 building that lets you dig a hole and then dump the earth. So I assumed that was going to turn up, and then it didn't. And I was like, oh, fuck. How do I solve this problem now, then?
Well, it's good in a way that it feels from your description like there are, at least on some level, multiple problems to solve.
Yeah.
Not like a problem, which is like how most factory games or sim games in a way seem to have. There's a solution.
I mean, it's the way it's broken into like the 3 stages helps as well, because then you're doing a different thing in each stage essentially. Like there is some overlap. Like if you're in stage 2 where you're doing the biomes but you need extra money, just try and fill in a bit more of the greenery around the edges. And then stage 3 is its own thing, mostly clearing up all your buildings. Although in stage 3 you're also introducing animals which have specific like biome requirements. So you could theoretically, if you
might still need to tinker.
Yeah, you might still need to tinker from stage 2 to create very specific biome combinations if you want to get all of the animals in. But yeah, that's that game. It's not very long. It's relatively simple, but not like, it's not impossible to fail.
Not as the article I was reading just then to fill me in on the Netflix thing, visionary.
I mean, if you want to say that it's the anti-city builder, like people are saying, then maybe it's sort of a new concept, except not really.
Except not, because it's the same in a different skin, basically.
Yeah.
And also, it's not like, ecology simulation has been a thing before. Do you remember that goddamn...
You're about to say like something like Creeper World or
Alpha Centauri or something.
No, well, no. Kind of, I guess. Alpha Centauri, kind of. You could do some ecological stuff there, but I was thinking more about the classic... I don't even remember what the game was actually called, but that one where you're in the Star Wars universe, you're populating the moon of Naboo with the Gungans and all the wildlife.
Oh, what?
What? I don't remember this.
I think it's like a Star Wars skin well, it was a game that was released as a Star Wars version of a game that already existed, and it's not really much of a game. It's like you make the environment the correct temperature, and then you put the animals in it, and they just run around. But yes, it was, I guess it might have even been considered an educational game back in the day.
Okay.
But it was Star Wars themed, and you were like, it was the Gungan effort to colonize the moon of Naboo for some reason.
Why the Gungans?
Who knows? I guess because they're the more ecological
side
race.
of the planet.
Because marketing.
Was it an oceanic moon? Or...
No, it was just a normal
I think the Gungans would want some water around.
I'm sure there was some water eventually when you terraformed it a bit. But I barely remember that. That's one of those games where I was like, I played it at some point, but how? Because I definitely didn't own it.
Right.
The Gungan Frontier?
That sounds like something you'd call that.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 1, The Gungan Frontier.
Never heard of it.
No.
I'm not surprised.
I have zero recollection of this. Okay.
I mean, I think I would have played it in a time when I was looking for, like, Sim Farm. That was probably around the same time I would have been playing Sim Farm the first time. I was looking for that kind of game.
Yeah, it would have been...
like simulations.
Sim Farm would have been way older than this at that point in time.
Well, I don't know about way older. They were probably both on Windows 95.
When were the prequel games?
Probably around the time the prequel came
sorry,
out.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I meant
99.
99. Yeah, Sim Farm would have been...
It would have been before, but it probably would have been on the same operating system. Actually,
would it?
Well, it might have been on
might
both.
Have been 3.1.
Well, it might have run on 95 as well as being on 3.1.
Yeah, imagine it was a DOS game.
I don't think it was a DOS game. I think it was Windows.
Looking up Sim Farm now.
Yeah, I could tell.
Sim Farm was, well, it just says Windows, but it was on DOS as well.
Okay.
93.
Okay, I guess that was a bit older then.
For 93 for the DOS version. So yeah, and 3 point something and Windows 95 versions later.
Well, I guess I probably would have been playing the 95 version.
Probably.
Because I wasn't on 3.1, that's for sure. I think I was ever on 3.1.
No, I wasn't.
Dan was the one who had the 3.1 experience.
Did you?
Yeah, probably on my dad's work laptop or something. Yeah.
I mean, we had Windows...
Like a compact.
Yeah. I mean, we had Windows 3.1 machines at school.
Yes.
Yeah. It had like a docking station, that compact laptop.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Huh. I don't remember that.
That's cool. It's crazy.
And that was all I played apart from a tiny bit of Rocket League as well, but there's nothing to say about that this week. No new season action.
Well, fun times. Look at the clock. How am I going to fit in what I've been playing?
That's why Rob should go first.
Oh, boy.
Next week. Don't forget Dab.
Okay, you go first then, Rob. Next time.
Well,
sorry, I thought you were half dying when anyway, never mind.
I mean, I was for like 30 seconds, and then it was okay. Anyway. I mean, my leg might have been dying. I don't know. Atomic Heart. I finished that thing.
So you can be free.
I am free of it, yes. But what a weird game Atomic Heart was. Like,
but not for the reasons you were hoping for, exactly.
No, it wasn't quite as mad, I think, in the sort of like pure insanity kind of way that I was kind of hoping for, and as it trailed, I guess.
Yeah.
It did end up being, as I say, more of a systematic plod, I guess. But I kind of did enjoy its vibe, like the way the combat came together as you powered up, and the way it got to the point where I stopped caring about my inventory and was just using it and things like that, which
Right.
Because I just had so much stuff that I was just like, well, I might as well use all this stuff.
Well, that's a hoarding problem for FPSs in general.
Yeah, to the point where like one of the things the game has is like you can fairly early on you can unlock the ability to attach like elemental cartridges to some of your guns, and then it's like, well, now my bullets might cause fire to happen.
Right.
And I didn't use it until like right at the end because I didn't come across many of those cartridges, in all honesty, and it was just getting towards the end of the game, and I'm like, well, I have a few of these. Let's just at least attach a couple of them. And it's like, okay, they weren't super effective as it turned out, but now I can set a few things on fire if I like. And so then I only really started experimenting towards the end of the game as well, like because you have this one power that can throw this gel out into the surroundings, and then you can do elemental stuff with it. So if you set that gel on fire, then you get a wall of fire that things are going to walk through and take a bit of damage, or you can create an electric wall or a frozen wall somehow that will freeze things or slow them down a bit. Anywho, I kind of ended up really kind of it wasn't hugely complex or hugely deep, but I did end up enjoying what it offered there. And I think my main complaints from my previous rants on it sort of still stand. Like, it could have done with cutting down. I don't think it needed to be quite as long, or like the open world aspect was probably a bit unnecessary because it just wasn't as fleshed out mechanically as you might think. It feels like one of those games where in general their ambition was just much bigger than what they could achieve.
Right.
And so as a result, nothing really quite feels honed, and really polish is what this game lacks. Really, it's not Breath of the Wild,
Okay, yeah.
where almost everything is mechanically perfect. It's not that. There were too many times where I got stuck, like physically stuck in the world and had to reload. There were too many times where that happened to me mid-combat, so I couldn't survive not dying. There were many, many crashes, especially towards the back half of the game. I just was making the game lock out frequently. But I still had a pretty good time. Oh, and the story makes absolutely no sense at all. Like, it doesn't come together in a meaningful, nice way at all, which, given the quality of the writing and its really strange like turns with the main character and how he doesn't feel consistent, and its attempts to maybe try and explain some of that. Anyway, and the ending was pretty like, oh really? Oh, that's a downer. Kind of like, it's not.
Oh, okay.
The ending's not good. But the music is hella cool, man.
That's what you need.
It stayed cool throughout. It really helped, honestly. As you say, it's not all you need. Don't get me wrong, but it really helped in this instance. The soundtrack is great. I think I don't really know if there's too much more to say on Atomic Heart. Really, it's a weird thing. I'm glad I played it. Like, I was really worried about it after those first couple hours, and it doesn't ever hit its potential, but it's I had a reasonable time with it. A reasonable time. So that leaves like a hole for another
game pass,
for another big game to play. So I'm going a little left field on this one.
Okay.
Or this might be an unexpected pick, because it was getting a bit late in one evening, and I was like, I don't really have a chill game I'm playing at the moment. I don't really have anything that's. I mean, I could go and play some more racing games. I could go and do something that's quick but a bit intense. I could go play some Splatoon, which I did do. I played Splatfest last weekend.
Oh, you remembered?
Yeah, it was a Splatfest. I don't think I have a huge amount more to say than that. I took on a slightly different approach from normal for me. I was a Splatling user.
Oh, right.
And I'm trying to get to grips with the anchor roll. Like, just don't go charging in all the goddamn time. Like, calm down. Step back a bit. Just it does require a certain reliance on the rest of your teammates also being good.
Right.
but you can at least try and play the hold the ground role. And I was actually having a fairly decent time doing that. Whatever. Connectivity was still all over the place. It's Splatoon, be Splatoon, whatever. But I had a reasonable time with it. Anyway, so I was thinking, I don't really have this like chill game. So I'm playing Ni no Kuni Remastered.
Okay.
The Level 5 developed JRPG.
Is that necessarily an unusual pick for you?
Okay.
You playing Final Fantasy?
Yeah, sure, but I haven't. This is a.
Well, no, it's not like Final Fantasy exactly, but
this is a J-ass JRPG. I mean, it's covered in J's. It's
full of J's.
Full of J's. So it took me a little while to make the connection that Level 5 are the Professor Layton team as well, right? So they also made this thing. And there's a lot of visual similarities, as it turns out, and some sound similarities while you're looking at this thing. But
hopefully no matchstick puzzles.
No matchstick puzzles. No, I don't think there is. And this game kind of had a bit of hype around it when it came out back in the PS3, because it has a little bit of assistance from Studio Ghibli on the animation side. Not that I'm sure Level 5 need it, because they're pretty good at this stuff, because it's there's quite a lot of animation in the Layton games as well, and it's good. It's good ass anime looking stuff. This is a good looking game. I mean, yes, this is the remastered version, but I don't think there's a whole lot of like art rework going on here. This game is like entirely held off the back of its art rather than its tech, and it's a good looking game. It looks like it looks like a Ghibli anime. It moves quite like it. It's like the actual animated scenes where they do it proper anime style look real nice.
Nice, yeah.
I'm playing the English version, which is both good and bad simultaneously. So
how much Welsh do you want? That's the first question.
That is 100% the reason I'm playing it in English mode, because your little fairy guy called Mr. Drippy is the closest thing to Rod Gilbert I've ever seen in a video game. Like, he's quite aggressive. He's a little bit. He's fast talking and so Welsh, and has all these like Welsh colloquialisms that it's just there's just a bit of me that's just like, how did this get through localization? Because it's man, he's kind of cool. He's pretty cool.
Nice.
I definitely remember at the time it came out that people were saying that like
he speaks so fast.
People were saying that like if you know Japanese, like the Japanese translation of him is also like a weird Japanese dialect,
right?
So it does still have that weirdness in that character.
So that was why they made
chose Welsh. Okay.
So he wasn't intended to be Welsh in the Japanese version.
No.
Like,
or Welsh equivalent maybe.
Yeah, because it's funny because
conceptually Welsh.
Because instead of saying like over there, he'll say like by there, and like when he says yours, like they spell it out as yours. so it's and in it is like edit, like he'll say in it a lot. And it's quite Welsh, but it's good. Like it definitely adds a little bit of character to this guy who's this fairy person who's like a little out of place with everything else, it seems. Like for some reason this guy, Mr. Drippy, is like detached from everything as a result, and I think that's quite good.
That's already making me have suspicions.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting a bit Bravely Default, where the companion that you have at the start of the game turns out to be maybe evil.
I mean, he hasn't. Let's be honest. He wasn't. I don't know anything about Ni no Kuni 2,
right?
But I'm pretty sure this fairy dude isn't in that, and like, or there's any of those fairy characters in Ni no Kuni 2. So I don't know what Ni no Kuni means either. So that's like a mystery in itself. Anyway, let's say it's a Japanese anime tragedy storyline setup where you do kid-like things that causes your mum to have a heart attack with worry. Your mum's dead.
Of course.
but there may be a way of saving her because this other world is connected to yours.
So she might not actually be dead.
She might not actually be dead. Or
she might have been mysteriously kidnapped by fairies or some shit.
Or the other version or by saving the other version of her in this other world, you might re-establish the link and she lives again. Or
right.
Slightly awkward term. They're called soulmates. Like when there's two versions of you, like one in this world, they're your soulmate is in the other one. So it's not what it usually means. So yeah, you're off to save this other world as the pure-hearted one, as everyone seems to recognize you as.
Because your heart works.
Because your heart works, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's got some...
Heart attacks make you evil.
Yes, you're pure-hearted, you're good. Because your heart functions. But like the world is also full of this like this curse that's across the land called broken-heartedness.
Oh, okay, naturally.
Which seems to be like you're missing a certain virtue of personality. So they all, like, early on you meet these characters that have no enthusiasm. So you have to effectively take it from people that have too much enthusiasm to get to then balance out these other people so they actually get back to doing their job and being a normal person. So I don't know what that I don't know what that says about neurodiversity in a weird way. It's like, hey, be normal, guys. Everyone be normal, right?
That could also be bad for story reasons, where it turns out you were the bad guy all along.
Yeah. Yeah. Anywho, I'm only like 3 hours into this thing at this point, and by JRP standards, that probably means I'm like maybe 2%. Yeah,
2% in. Yeah, okay.
It's introduced this other mechanic to me, like where I don't think you get a party particularly in this. I think you're fighting, but you summon Pokemon effectively to act for you as well. But you all have a shared health pool, so if your Pokemon take damage, you're taking damage and things like that. But you can swap back to you to use magic and things like that, because you're a wizard, Harry, supposedly. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out. The second familiar I found was like a monkey-like character. Well, I say found, was given. And it lets you name the characters, right? So this thing comes up, and it's called like... I want to say it was probably intended to be pronounced Lemal.
Right. Like
Lemahl. So immediately I've renamed it to Lamal.
Correct. Okay.
Lamal. So I got this monkey guy in my pocket called Lamal. And the first familiar I got was, it was suggested I'd call him Mighty, but he's like as in like a mite, not might. But might with a just MITE, not
like a tiny bug.
Yeah, tiny bug. But he's actually just this little guy with a little sword, shield, and cape. So I called him Stab Mite instead, just to just make that a little bit more.
Stab Mite.
So we've got Stab Mite and Lamal helping me out. And I like. I mean, it's already thrown a little bit of like JRPG trouble my way, and like the first real sort of like explorable area I got into, I immediately felt I'm a little underleveled for this. Let's grind a touch around the save point until I get to a comfortable state, and now let's press through it. So I don't know, it's got a little bit of that JRPG worry about it. I've died once already because the combat's quite fast. It's not turn-based, it's sort of real time.
Right.
So you do an action, and it will do that action for a while, and everything. But then that action will eventually run out, and you have to pick something else to do. But you can cancel out of that action to change what you're doing. You also have a limited amount of actual positional controls. You can walk around, which can help you actually miss attacks. You can just like step back from things for a while, and their attacks won't reach you, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not familiar with the Tales games, but I'm getting a feeling that the combat is similar to those in that respect, because they're sort of real time and sort of positional. So it might be a bit like the Tales games. Anyway, I quite like it so far.
And you'll be playing that for months.
Yeah,
probably.
Well,
unless you fall off.
Yeah, I sort of got this like nostalgia for 2 years ago, right? This is which doesn't really work. Like, so when I moved into this house, it was like, I don't know. I remember like it being nice days outside, and of course I'm not outside.
You remember the good times?
Yeah. Look, well, it was nice days outside. I obviously wasn't outside because I'm
Because you don't.
Because I don't, yeah. But I was playing Final Fantasy 12 through at the time. So a little bit of me was like, oh, maybe I should do that again. Like, spend this time of year playing an RPG.
Spend the summer spending maximum time indoors.
Early summer, not actual summer.
Well, by the time you're finished with this game.
Oh, yeah, probably.
By the time you're finished with this game, probably autumn.
But by the time I finish this game, like, everyone will be bored with Tears of the Kingdom, so...
Well, maybe.
Or I will have completely switched to playing that. I don't know. Switched. So that's what I'm doing in semi-modern game land. I don't really have like a modern game on the go at the moment. It's all sort of
no new releases.
No, because I've been like falling deeper into the old PlayStation retro hole.
Return to the hole.
Yeah. So
Back to the hole.
You know, I fixed my problem with Wipeout 3. And how that was rendering to screen and the problems. It turns out my amp couldn't handle the weird-ass signal coming out of the OSSC, and it was that was causing the frame skipping. Plugging it straight into the telly seems to have cleared that right up. I should have tried that earlier. I think I did try it at one point when I was trying to originally get things working, and then going through the amp seemed to actually function with the PS2, and I was like, all right, fine, we'll leave it at that. Maybe I won't go through the telly. And then actually I needed to reverse that incorrect assumption I'd made early on in order to get things actually working. So I've been having a better time with that, which was nice. And then I couldn't help myself. You know, I'd started down this path and I started looking on eBay, and it's like, so I've ended up with copies of Ridge Racer 5 and Rapid Racer. So let's talk about those. Ridge Racer 5 was the first game released on PlayStation 2. Fact. It has the lowest Sony code for that platform, and it's a Ridge Racer game.
Probably.
So, but it predates like them introducing the boost mode. I think this might be the last Ridge Racer game they did before Ridge Racer on PSP. So I guess you could call it the last old school Ridge Racer game.
Like how you do a 360 the wrong way.
So no.
Oh, ruined.
Weirdly enough, the handling in Ridge Racer 5 has a sort of semblance of sanity to it.
Oh. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, the drifts don't just automatically follow curves. They kind of is I think it is probably helping you a little bit in that way, but like there is a little bit of nuance to how it actually handles. And weirdly enough, that nuance changes between the cars you pick. You kind of have to work for it a little more than you might expect. And man, I think you sort of, I can't remember what we were talking about earlier in the podcast, but I had this thought cross my mind as you said it, when it's like, they just don't make games like this anymore.
Yep, Triple B,
yeah. And I don't know, there's probably...
It probably was AAA at the time.
Yeah, but like, they don't make games that are just like neat little packages of fun with this much production value and this much style like around it. There is something that Ridge Racer has always had, and I think even through Ridge Racer 6, which I think was the last one I played, and it still had a bit of this, where it's like they really lean into that style. And yeah, okay, Ridge Racer 5 probably might be one of my least favorite styles out of the lot, but like it's sort of bombastic, and I think they have this thing where like the entire game is presented as with an announcer from an FM radio station. You're listening to Ridge FM 97 point something.
Yeah,
Not DJ Atomica.
I don't know if this guy is more or less annoying than Atomica, but because he kind of makes for a bad announcer, honestly, whilst you're racing, because he like talks about stuff that's not the race.
Right, he talks like he's on an actual radio.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like it seems fixed to the race you're doing sometimes. So he'll be like, "There are plenty of other races around Ridge C. Be sure to enter them all." Like whilst you're racing, it's like, great, thanks. But he'll say that like once every race or something like that, and it's like. You have these crazy daredevils put their lives on the line on every corner, and you have to give them respect for that. And it's like, all right, I'm just driving here, man. Calm down. The exhaust note sounds great at night. My favorite one though is where he's going on about another one of these ones where he's like, these drivers are out there, but they're all out there for the same thing. Like, went from seasoned pros to rookies. Win or lose, they deserve your support and stuff like that. It's like, he says rookies. That's fun. And if you sometimes when you have a collision, he goes, "Oh, that was too close for comfort." Bit of the Japanese translation didn't really work. And honestly, like, even though the soundtrack is kind of mental and Ridge Racer-y, it's probably the weakest soundtrack of the lot to me. Like, I really like Ridge 4's soundtrack. I quite like Ridge 6's. I mean, Ridge 4 is just a classic. And sat next to Zach right now is a copy of Rage Racer, which is technically Ridge Racer 3, which has a pretty banging soundtrack as well. So I'm going to play that at some point. Yeah, I know. It's Ridge Racer. Ridge Racer.
Ridge Racer.
$599.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time. Okay,
but not the Ridge Racer game you would pick though. But a pretty good one.
It's a pretty good time. I would recommend playing. Well, if you have a PlayStation 3, play 4? Ridge 7 because Ridge 7 is a good one and it's a better version of Ridge 6.
Sure.
But Ridge 4 is probably the stylistic height. We're kind of all just like this zenith of cool.
Yeah,
I will go back and play Ridge 4 at some point. I have got a copy of that. Like, I'm just sort of it's like Wipeout 3. I'm sort of saving myself. Like,
so what are we saying? The zenith of Ridge Racer is 4, and what's the zenith of Wipeout 3? Are we saying or are we actually saying?
I mean, 3 is pretty good, but like, I think Wipeout's a bit fuzzier. Like, as to what is the like they all have their charm. I think for like super old school,
better.
Yeah, Pulse definitely plays better than 3. 3 has a certain cool factor, like, you know, it probably has the cool, but it's not the best playing in the series. 2097 has a certain feel to it that no other Wipeout has. But then the best might honestly have been HD Fury. Like, which means the Omega Collection probably covers it. Like, really,
effectively covers it. Yeah.
But I definitely have a soft spot for Pure as well, because that's slightly different again, but it has so much content. Yeah. If you've got all the DLC packs.
I played a lot of that on the PSP.
Yeah, and it emulates real well as well. Don't PPSSPP does a real good job with it.
Oh shit, that reminds me. Late news. Apparently there's increasing rumours that Sony are going to make a handheld again.
Oh yeah, no, I did hear this.
What?
I mean, this was a while back that this was sort of...
Well, that's why I said increasing rumours, like they're coming back stronger now.
Right, yeah. Isn't the rumour that it's actually a streaming device, that it's not like a full-on handheld?
Yeah,
that it's
it
like,
could easily be.
That it's just supposed to link up with your PS5 and do remote play.
And not be used as a rearview mirror.
Yeah, sure. It's Ridge Racer. Yeah, that rumor is floating. If it is just a streaming device, that's real stupid.
Yeah.
Because just use a phone. They have PS5 remote play on a phone. Just use that. You don't need a device. Yeah, so that's Ridge. Also, the Jaggies are real. It's a pretty rough looking game, but you know, as the first. I mean, there's bits of the texture detail on the cars is real low as well and unfiltered, so it's like even jaggier. And they got the interlacing tech wrong that they were using at the time. Apparently, that's kind of a thing. Like Namco just didn't get the interlacing tech right. Yeah, in the first game, and they solved it by the time Tekken Tag came out, which is like a week later or something ridiculous, like super early in the PlayStation life cycle. Yeah, but they just don't make games like that anymore, and I miss it. I really do. So I'm playing Rapid Racer as well, which is a speedboat racing game developed internally by Sony Europe, featuring a soundtrack by Apollo 440.
Really?
Yeah.
How bizarre.
Not kidding. I only had a sort of like a vague connection to this, but it was because it was one of those games that I think was on the Sony One demo disc that a lot of people will have got when you first bought a PlayStation.
Right.
But I remember playing that demo and feeling kind of impressed because it's a PlayStation 1 game that runs at a higher interlaced resolution than most and at 60 frames per second. So, that's pretty unusual. And it's got water physics, kinda. Man, this thing handles weird. It's a weird ass game to play. It just feels odd. But you get sort of pushed by currents and things like that. Also, it's a lap-based racing game in the water with hills. Like the water goes both up and down somehow. It's weird. It's weird. It doesn't make any sense. It's a strange game, but it's surprisingly difficult. I'm playing it in easy mode, which I don't really know what it changes, but it like segregates your progress off into the difficulties as well. So if you pick easy mode and you've been playing that for a bit and you upgrade boats by like if you pick up enough yellow tokens during a race, you get a little bonus stage at the end, and if you pick up the yellow tokens during that, then you upgrade the stat on that boat. Fairly standard sort of stuff. But it gates that. If you do that in easy mode, you then can't bring that upgraded boat into medium mode. You've got to do the races again in medium mode and get the yellow tokens to upgrade the boat separately there. So the difficulties are all separated, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm trying to do you go through the 6 courses first during the day, and then there's a harder night variant, which I think is mostly the same course, but they just move. They're these red buoys that you shouldn't run into because they take away some of your turbo capability, and if you get too many of those you stop for a moment, but they change the positioning of those around, and I think maybe the current's a bit stronger, things like that, and I cannot get through the night version of the second track in easy mode, so it's a surprisingly tough game, but yeah, it's just a weird little thing. I'm kind of having fun with it. It was a nice little pickup. Only a couple quid off eBay, so you know.
It's a dangerous thing to be doing.
Oh, tell me about it.
Picking up random old games for a quid.
Tell me, I've got something that I haven't told either of you about that I picked up for £1 and is a proper weird one, but it requires me to get another console out of the loft.
Wow.
So look forward to that at some point in the future.
Look forward to that one next time, okay.
I mean, I guess it's unsurprising when I actually tell you what it is, but like, it's a little bit out there. I just like the fact I picked it up for £1. Singular English pound. So I'm going deeper down this PlayStation hole, and I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. Get retro, people. See what the industry could have been. Man, arcade racers, bring them back. That's all I'm saying. I'm playing a lot. This is just like all of these are arcade racing games, right? And it's like because they don't make them. Does Need for Speed Unbound count as the most arcadey racer they've made in recent years?
Possibly.
And is that just because of the visual style that Criterion put on it?
Well, and I guess like more racing races.
What, short little races rather than sims.
Those are slightly rare nowadays as well.
Yeah. They're just great for just picking up and playing a little bit of, and then not feeling like you have to be dedicated to a session for. Like, I can just drop into it, and it's like, even if they're on the old console and you have to wait for the cocking thing to load, and I potentially have to faff around my PS. I might have to. I'm now more annoyed that you don't have your PS2 Slim anymore, Dan, because I think my PlayStation 2 has a problem reading the purple CD-ROM style PlayStation 2 games.
Oh no!
Which Ridge Racer 5 is, of course, one. Okay. So it has a harder time reading them. You basically just put like open disk tray, close disk tray. Does it like it this time? No. Open disk tray, close disk tray. So I might try and buy a PS2 Slim. They're not super expensive, but like it's another thing I probably don't need, but now want. God damn it. Isn't it also like weird that they did that with the PS2? That some games came out on CD-ROM on those purple coated discs.
Yeah.
But then they released DVD games that were just normal ass looking discs.
Well, I think that's not necessarily that it was weird as much as it was just like a very precise time window that they ended up in.
Because like I'm trying to think what games I have are on the purple disc. I think Frequency was on a purple disc. Rez, the PS2 version of Rez is on a purple disc. Ridge 5 now. But I think everything else I own is on like a DVD disc. It's just a bit odd. They don't make funky coloured PS4 discs.
The real question is, why were they that colour specifically?
Well, why were the PlayStation 1 discs black? Because it's cool.
I don't think that was the reason, probably.
No, I think there's some copy protection potentially on the inner ring, like might be related to the colour. I don't know, but the rest of it is just it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm sure I've forgotten something.
Probably,
but I'll stop there because we're running hella long.
Yeah, I think we might be time to wrap this one up, don't you? Wouldn't you agree?
Well, we've only got 2 more podcasts to go until Zelda time.
Then that's probably all we'll ever talk about ever again. Until F-Zero GX2 comes out.
In some future time.
Yeah. Well, alternate timeline.
Yeah, you're going to have to go to your soulmate.
Yeah, I am.
And he's already playing F-Zero GX2.
Son of a bitch.
That's what makes his hard work.
Okay. Sorry, you're dropping out here right at the end.
Sorry, no, we can hear you just fine. It's all good.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, that's a podcast. Do check out our YouTube channel. We've got that rough cut of the Monopoly Tycoon to check out if you don't mind a bit of roughness. But we'll have some more standardly pro stuff coming soon. And yeah, we'll be back with another podcast and then another one, and then it'll be Zelda time. So can't wait. We'll catch you for those.
It's another one.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye.